Them a see a weak show. It's them a see a weak show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's them a see a weak show. It's them a see a weak show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's them a see a weak show. Talk truth, build roots, stories unfold. Motivate change, mobilize is the mode, that's the MR code. Hey, we growing, we know it.
The sky still break. Sirens crying where children play. Mama kneel but she afraid to pray. Too much gone and we lose the way. We inherit a sacred ground. Now is echoes and empty sound. Footsteps heavy, no joy around. Tell me, when did we turn this around? Can my country get back its beauty? Blood on the streets, that is not our duty. It's not the dream that the heroes decree. So lift up this nation, please. Lift it higher, don't let it fall. From the smallest voice to the tallest call. If we stand, we could change it all. Lift up the nation, one and all. Hey! Well, no. Hey! Hands once built, now they're tearing down. Kings walking but without a crown. Truth get lost in the noise of town. While the youth them just drift and drown. But a spark still lay deep inside. Buried low but it can't hide. If we stand up with truth as guide, we could turn back this rising tide. Can my country get back its beauty? Blood on the streets, that is not our duty. This not the dream that the heroes decree. So lift up this nation, please. Lift it higher, don't let it fall. From the smallest voice to the tallest call. If we stand, we could change it all. Lift up the nation, one and all. From the pages past, guard the future, make it last. Freedom never was built so fast. Every sacrifice holding fast. So we rise not in rage but will. Heart steady and spirit still. One voice louder than any ill. Together strong, together build. Can my country get back its beauty? Blood on the streets, that is not our duty. This not the dream that the heroes decree. So lift up this nation, please. Lift it higher, don't let it fall. From the smallest voice to the tallest call. If we stand, we could change it all. Lift up the nation, one and all.
From which our pride And a great, great good night to every single one of you joining us today on the Marcy Week Show. Happy May Day. And I'll be coming back to that in just a moment in terms of the significance of May Day. For those of you who may not know, I want to just touch on that very briefly and then move into some announcements and some comments. But of course, before we go there and before I go to welcoming you all individually, as many as I can, and then collectively as a loyal opposition, can we share together our national pledge? I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. I want you to look at that pledge. Beautiful background of blue with the yellow stripes running along the top. It says, I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados. It specifies my nation. It specifies to what I am pledging my allegiance and to my flag. And I'm going to do a couple of things. I will uphold and defend their honor. That's the honor of my country and the honor of my flag. And by my living, man, I would have to say that this pledge must have been crafted by a Christian man, I almost said young man, because if there's one thing we believe in is faith without works is dead. So if you say you believe in your country and you pledge for your country, then you've got to prove it by the way you live. I pledge allegiance to my country, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. The tremendous national anthem that we just listened to, and probably some of you sang, and we are so grateful to be a part of this great island. Now, let me take the opportunity to welcome you to the Marcia Week Show. It's my distinct honor and privilege to host the Friday night shows. As you know, I would normally be on Monday evenings, but I have switched to the Fridays for some personal issues and some other aspects that make it very difficult for me to continue on the Monday evenings. And incidentally, my wife is doing a lot better. She's not out of the woods. She's still having to be careful. She could have attacks at any moment if she does something that shouldn't be engaged. And we more likely than not, will have to return to Colombia sometime in July to do a revisit of her situation. And we're believing God, as we did for the very first visit there, to work a miracle. Now, on the first instance, a miracle did occur. She did have a gallstone blocking, I believe, the bile duct leading into the pancreas or somewhere in that area. I should have pursued what I wanted to do, and that was either a doctor or a lawyer. But then again, doctors don't talk too much, and I talk too much. So anyhow, we got into Colombia, and when they did their checks, tests, and examinations, the stone had vanished. This was an 11 millimeter stone, quite big. They didn't have the capability to break it down in Barbados using an ERSP machine or something like that. And so we had to leave the country in order to engage that. And we saw God work a miracle in removing that. So we're believing him for not only the second, but a complete overhaul of her system. So for those of you who may be wondering, she's doing relatively well. She's in good spirits and walking by faith and not by sight. So I welcome you to the show tonight. Dan, God bless you, Dan X4. That's a BMW code. So Dan, you have to be a BMW lover. Of course I am. You would tell that by now. Our good joy to have you on the show tonight. And Monica Ince, great to have you with us again this evening. This is Friday, May the 1st. Ronald Archer and Marcia Miller. There you are, Marcia. Great to have you with us this evening as well. I keep looking for Mr. Alfred Benjamin. I'm not seeing him as I used to. Hi, Judy. Good to have you on tonight. Yes. We like to know who controlling Barbados. We like to know who's controlling Barbados. Judy, God is in charge. Let me tell you. No matter what you see happening in the country, no matter what you see happening in the government, the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the people, and all that dwell therein. So trust me, he is moving things according to his plan. So he's in charge. Okay, Marva, great to have you. Good night to you as well. And thank you so much for your for your greetings this evening as well. Yes, thank you also, Marva. Please like and share. Good night to you as well. Calendar 2434. Pleasure to have you back with us this Friday evening. And remember to share as well. I'm a big girl. And you know who I'm looking for? I'm looking for Flo Jo. Looking for Flo Jo because that's one of my favorite athletes years ago. That girl was so fast. My goodness. Amazing. Andrea Critchlow, 8955. Great to have you back with us this evening. Lucinda Aline, good evening to you too. And Laurie Bob, pleasure to have you rejoining us this evening. Taroni, great to have you here. Good evening. Great to have you. Yes, all of the loyal opposition and all of the DLP members and Conrads. Yes, good evening, and thank you, Taroni, for being here this evening. I'm a big girl. There you are. I was just looking for you. And let me get this right. Charmaine Taylor, 2268. Is that you? Good night to you too. I receive all those blessings, and I am going to keep most of them for me and pass a few on to Dave and Marcia. Is that all right? I'm only kidding. You know that. Jacqueline Aline, good night to you as well. Anita Brewster, good evening. Beautiful, beautiful Barbados, gem of the Caribbean Sea. Come back to my island, Barbados. Come back to my island. And me, please come back. Anyhow, we leave that, okay? Tyrone Blackman, good night to you as well. Beverly Prescott, amen. Good night to you. Is that Celia Mason? Good night to the loyal opposition family. Love always and blessings. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate that. And let me just pull a couple more of you wonderful loyal opposition. You're here faithfully every time the show starts. Judith Ann Clark, good night. Great to have you with us as well. Yes, that is very good indeed, Marva. God is able. And thank you. Oh, I look smart. Does everybody think I look smart? Listen, I'm always trying to get something to not competitively, but nicely compete with Marcia. But Marcia has so many really lovely outfits. I just can't compete. One of these days, I'm going to go to Africa and I can get a whole set of new clothes that I can show off some of my things like that too. All right. But thank you. Thank you very much, Marva Lashley. God bless you as well. Yes, Judith, she's keeping on an upward trajectory. You're absolutely correct. She's in good spirits, wonderful. I don't know how many of you all actually know her or have ever met her. She's a wonderful person, a great mom, great grandmother, a tremendous wife. Do we ever have differences? You bet we do. We're like, we create a lot of power. And as you know, to get power, you have to have a negative and a positive. So I'm not sure which one I am, though, but we're different. Okay. That's what it is. That's how life is, you know. Oh, goodness. Charmaine Taylor, God bless you too. It's you. All right. Wonderful. Yeah, my throat is all right. I think so. I think it is. Why, you heard me start to sing just now. It didn't sound right. Okay. Oh, my good. Taroni, I received that. Let me put that up there. Taroni, I received that. Taroni says I look like a trillionaire. I received that. And anytime I told the Barbados government needs a loan from me in order to get rid of the debt, I will be able to give them a grant. But I'm going to control what I do with that grant, okay? So God bless you all. Really great to have all of you. Oh, dear me. They want me to send a picture of my wife to present, but he doesn't know my wife. My wife does not like to be showcased all over the world. I don't even have a picture of her on my Facebook page. If I ever did that, I don't even have a doghouse to go in. As a matter of fact, we do. It's our rear foyer, so our rear foyer is enclosed, so that wouldn't be too bad a doghouse for me to go into. But she's a very private person. She doesn't like the limelight, that kind of thing. She likes to operate behind the scenes. She's very powerful. She's a great counselor. Has helped tremendously in our ministry pre-pandemic when we had our church, and of course during the time that I was involved in significant ministry at People's Cathedral. She was a tremendous support. And so I hope it gets better though, Vihoy, because I am supposed to be performing for Gospel Fest this year, and I'll try to find out when that is so that you all can all find out. And incidentally, talking about Gospel Fest, let me share a few quick announcements with you. And I think, Dave, you should have the there we go. Gospel Fest actually is going to be launched on, let me get the date correctly. They're going to be launching Gospel Fest at the Enoch's. This is the grouping of national churches and ministers and pastors on, this is May, just pulling up the ad here in front of me. This is going to be the gathering of 2026, a joint Pentecostal rally at the Kensington Oval on Sunday, May the 24th. And that same day, Gospel Fest will be launching at that event on May the 24th. And as you can see from the flyer there, they're doing a number of initiatives. This one, for the very first time, Salt and Light Initiative, you plus 2 others, free admission at Farley Hill. But you must not come alone. You have to come with someone, and we're looking forward to a great launching on the 24th of May. And then, of course, that is Sunday, the 31st of May, one awesome day at the Farley Hill National Park. Farley Hill has been a beautiful facility for many, many years. I remember it when it was actually a lovely building and was actually utilized by the royal family. And then, of course, there was a terrible fire there that destroyed the entire building. And to date, it is a lovely facility. And Gospel Fest on the 31st, that one awesome day, courts one awesome day. Bring yourself and 2 other persons with you at least. It's a free event. First time I believe this is happening. It's a free event, and this is a part of the Gospel Fest initiative to combat some of the decline in our morals and conditions in Barbados. So we look forward to tremendous Gospel Fest this year. Of course, you know all the different segments of it: hymn, speak, jazz, the event at Savvy on the Bay, the event. I think there's another one in I can't remember all of them right now. Hymn, speak. Of course, I spoke about that one. The one at the gymnasium. I can't remember which one I'm going to be in at the moment. I'm going to be performing. I believe this year is going to be a special year in that it is I think it's the 60th year anniversary for our independence, and I believe it's the 33rd year for Gospel Fest 33. That event I was mentioning, that's at Abundant Life. Dave, is that the hymn speak, Abundant Life? Just want to make sure I have that right. And so that this year is going to be quite a different Gospel Fest. And I want to extend an invitation on behalf of the organizers and Mr. Adrian Agard. I want to extend a welcome to all of you. Hymn Speak is going to be at St. Mary's Church. And I don't know the date for that. I don't have them in front of me. But we'll be getting them before we get to the 24th of May. We'll be having them for all of you. And speaking about that, there's also going to be transportation provided from the Marcia Weeks show. And Dave, I think you might have a couple of other flyers that you can put up for me. I think there's one to do with some shirts that they're utilizing, the sale of some shirts to provide funding for the events that are going to be hosted this year. And I'm just trying to locate those flyers. But I think, Dave, you should have those images of the shirts. There are 2 different types, I believe. I think there's a T-shirt and there's a polo shirt for Gospel Fest this year. The T-shirts are going to be $30 each, and if you wish to get a T-shirt, and or if you wish to get a polo shirt, which is going to be $40, and in a moment Dave is going to put the pictures up on the screen for you to see. The polo shirt is $40, the T-shirt $30. Beautiful Gospel Fest, Salt and Light. And if you are interested in ordering now, you can do so by calling 246-288-5891. Look, 91. Look at them. Aren't they lovely? Dark black. Hear me, black shirts with tremendous logos on them. 246-288-5891. You can call that number and place your early orders for the T-shirts. It's right there on the screen for you. And we look forward to seeing you at the different events with Gospel Fest. This is going to be a tremendous time this year. And we are looking forward to a great time with Adrian and many of the local artists. As I mentioned, I myself am going to be ministering in it. And we will be having a Gospel Fest 2026 bus excursion to Farley Hill. This, of course, is going to be on the 31st for the Farley Hill, One Awesome Day. And that is going to be from, I'm just making sure I get it. It's going to be, okay, let me make sure I get this right. It's going to be from Independence Square. It'll be leaving Independence Square at 12:30 sharp. Just bring a donation, and that will help offset the costs of the bus. And you can gather together with us at Independence Square on the 31st, One Awesome Day, and be a part of that bus excursion to Farley Hill. That's at 12:30 Independence Square on May 31st. All right, so that's all the Gospel Fest advertisements that I have. It's very important. We have a tremendous Farley Hill National Park. It is, yes, Kentland McCollin. It is going to be there. How do I mean from the Marcy Week Show? We are going to be doing this. The Marcy Week Show is going to be providing bus transportation from Independence Square on that day, on that One Awesome Day. And they're asking you to call 236-7000 to ensure that you have an opportunity to get your booking in, and asking you to walk with a donation that can help offset the cost of the bus service. Okay. Okay. Well, you have an ad. You said you're ready to run, Dave. Well, please go right ahead and run that ad.
Don't trust man, trust God, and trust that this year's Barbados Gospel Fest is an experience you do not want to miss. May 24th to 31st. God bless you.
Of course, you know that familiar voice. That familiar voice, one that has paved the way for many, many years in Barbados in the gospel circle, Joseph Niles and the Consolers. You remember them? Tremendous singing that we had many, many years ago together with Sister Marshall. Really great. So we're looking forward to that. Now, just a couple of things I want to touch on before we get in a few moments. I'm going to be having my first guest joining me, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful night tonight. We're going to be chatting about a number of areas. We're going to be taking a look at the aspect of the 2030 agenda, what it means for Barbados. You've heard me mention this on many occasions, and you've heard the Prime Minister mention it on several occasions. And we need to ask ourselves, what is this 2030 agenda that we keep hearing about? It's very important, and it's very critical for us to know about it, because inevitably it is going to have an impact on every single one of us. Okay, so it's very important that we pay attention to that. And then later on, we're going to be discussing the matter to do with the proposed data center in Greenland, and what are the opportunities, what are the risks, and what are the implications of this data center that they're looking to construct in the Greenland in St. Andrews. So in just a few moments, we're going to be beginning that segment. But I just want to touch on a couple of things very, very quickly. One of them, of course, is the just concluded elections in Antigua. And my goodness, it looks like Prime Minister Brown has been returned to office with a 15-seat majority. He's won 15 of the 17 seats, which is the reverse of a slim victory that he achieved in January of 2023 when the party scraped home by a 9-7 margin. And this time it's a 15-2 margin that he has won by. I found it very interesting that as I looked at the imagery in the Guardian newspaper, all of them were wearing red ties against a red background. Of course, we know about the red here in Barbados, and I think we know about red. I think it was St. Lucia. And, you know, I'm left to ask some questions about all of this red, you know, and I don't know, you know, when I see red, there's one country that comes to mind whenever I see a lot of red, and that's China. And I am just wondering, you know, I'm just throwing out some questions here. I'm just wondering, is there any involvement in our electioneering in the Caribbean by the Chinese government, by the Chinese Communist Party? Let me be specific. By the Chinese Communist Party. We know that here in Barbados, we had a situation where the Barbados Labour Party met with the Chinese Communist Party, not the government. They met with the Chinese Communist Party just prior to the general election. And incidentally, the elections in Antigua were called, I believe it would have been a couple of years ahead of schedule. Just like here, a snap election was called. And again, you see these things happening throughout the Caribbean. I am just wondering if there is any connection between all of the red that we're seeing and the Chinese Communist Party. And I make no apologies for asking these questions because we know what has been transpiring relative to the Chinese financing across the world. We have seen it happening in Africa. We've seen several parts of Africa kick them out of the country. We've seen them take control of airports and seaports. As a matter of fact, my understanding is that they've taken control of the Kingston, Jamaica port as a result of some, well, I would have to say a default in loan payment. Because you see, I've always learned that the borrower is servant of the lender. And so whenever you see people borrowing money and you hear about grants and all these kind of things, we have to remember that at some point in time, if we don't fulfill that loan, something is going to get called in. And I'm just asking the question, if there is any connection between all this red that we're seeing in the Caribbean, all the financing that we're seeing being put through by China throughout the Caribbean, and of course, a lot of movement of Chinese nationals into the Caribbean. Now, let me say this very clearly. I know that one of the policies of the Chinese government is the exporting of her people. And anybody who doubts me can do your own research. That is entirely up to you. I've done some research on this, and I have observed that that is one of the aspects that they engage in. And you will notice that in almost every instance, any project that they're involved here in Barbados, you can hardly find a Barbadian laborer working in the facility that they're dealing with. And I mentioned at the beginning, today is May Day, and we were going to talk about the significance. My first guest is with us, and I'm going to bring her right in because I'm sure she's going to have some things to share with us with regards to today. So let me welcome you, Carolyn. It is a joy to have you back with me again today. I am beginning to really look forward to Fridays as much as I did to Mondays, when I would occasionally have Maxine and Glenn in, but on Fridays I have you and Apostle Scantlebury, and both of you are tremendous as well. And I've been enjoying the time with both of you, and I look forward to tonight. So welcome to the show, Carolyn. A great joy to have you back with me tonight.
Good night, Reverend Ferdy and loyal opposition. Thanks for welcoming me.
Well,
as well.
I must say something. You said something just now that tells me that you have got considerably comfortable with me. And that is a good thing because you said Reverend Ferdy. Very few people call me Ferdy, Carolyn. Very few, very, very few. And most of them who do are close persons in terms of friendships and so on. So you have joined that clique. Okay, you've joined that clique of persons. That most of them call me Ferdinand. So, but that's nice to hear. That had a good ring to it, Reverend Ferdy. I kind of like that. But tell me something.
I heard that from Kimar.
Oh yeah, but he too.
Yes.
He. That's right. He
Yes,
calls me that, Pastor
yes.
Ferdy and Reverend Ferdy.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
I was just speaking very briefly about the matter of my querying all this red in the Caribbean. Of course, you know today's May Day. May Day generally represents, or supposed to represent, a celebration honoring the labor movement, workers' rights, and contribution of our workers here in Barbados to our society. And okay, Vihoy tells me that they call me Ferdy too. So anybody else wants to join the clan, just let me know. Oh my goodness. Yes, but that's what today is, you know, the celebration of the labor movement, the contribution of the workers to Barbados. And I had a recent conversation, Carolyn, with someone, I won't name the company, but they were lambasting the Barbados Workers Union, and they were talking about how they have lost representation as workers and so on. Of course, I made my contribution to them, but that is what today is all about. And I really myself did not realize that Antigua was in a general election until I saw the results on my Facebook page to discover that Prime Minister Gaston Browne has won another term, but this time by a significant majority. And as you would have seen on the picture that they just had up, it's all red. Barbados was all red. St. Lucia, I think, was all red. I think St. Vincent was the only one that was yellow. And, you know, what we also see is red. To me, red represents China. And I think you will recall the Barbados Labour Party meeting with the Chinese Communist Party at Roebuck Street prior to the general election. And also, you would probably notice that Mr. Gaston Browne called an early election, just like the Prime Minister of Barbados did this year. And so I'm just asking some questions. I wonder if there are any connections between all of this and the Chinese. I just wonder. It just seems strange to me.
And so you are correct. I'm wondering as well, because there are so many things happening, so many things in common. And it leads you to wonder if these persons are in a league together, if there is some specific plan for some specific time frame. Because if you look at it, the elections are snap. They are called before time, and it would appear as if all of these persons have to be in position for a particular date. Because if you realize it, you have a 5-year span, and if you have a 5-year span, and you call election in 2026, and we have, and I'm going ahead here, a 2030 agenda.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
It is expected that the 2030 deadline will fall in the time frame for the expected government.
Well, you know, this is something that I pointed to Carolyn. You might have heard me refer to it on several occasions here on the show. And certainly we have heard the Prime Minister refer to it on more than one occasion. She has spoken on several occasions about the 2030 agenda.
Yes.
And I've sent a video to Dave, which I'm going to ask him to play in a moment. I don't know if you had seen this video, but have been doing a bit of research on the 2030 agenda to identify if there, you know, what is it all about? And based on what it's all about, what are the implications? Let me put it that way. What are the implications for Barbados? And what are the things that are going to be coming up? Because there seems to be quite a lot involved in this 2030 agenda. And folks, we want you to pay very careful attention to what we are sharing with you tonight. And if you want to, you can do your own research, and you can ask, you can query, you can look at the videos. I have seen many of them, many concerns raised by members of the European Union. These are big political persons in Europe who have raised major concerns about the 2030 agenda. So, Carolyn, before we move into the discussion that we want to have concerning this agenda and the potential implications to Barbados, I'm going to ask Dave to play this video that I came across as I was doing my research. And these are persons who I would have to say are speaking in the know. Some of the videos I've watched come out of Australia. A lot of them come out of the European Union, and they're raising questions concerning the 2030 agenda, or what is referred to as the master plan. So Dave, go ahead and let's run the video.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Climate Agreement provide humanity with a master plan for a sustainable way of life on this planet.
New York City, late September 2024, the setting for the United Nations Summit of the Future, a gathering of member nations to reinforce and accelerate Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The plan has a broad spectrum and is full of worthy ambition. But behind those deliberately bright and colourful boxes lies a darker theme, a shifting of influence and potentially power towards unelected world bodies. The strategy goes back well into the last century, and pressure is growing, because the goals are far behind targets set at the grand relaunching in 2015.
17 inspiring Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Our aim is clear, our mission is possible, and our destination is in our sights.
To end poverty and hunger, address inequality, protect our planet, and build a life of dignity for all.
It appears to be a noble and ambitious program for a perfect world. And who could argue with those aspirations? But critics insist the goals are not what they seem. Alex Newman is a journalist and broadcaster who's been investigating the issue for 15 years. He has his own way of interpreting the rhetoric.
You have to learn to speak what I call UNEs. You have to know what the terms mean if you want to truly understand what is being discussed. When they talk about peacekeeping forces or the peacekeeping role of the United Nations, they're actually talking about the war-making capabilities of the United Nations. So you have this Orwellian doublespeak. When they talk about transparency, more often than not, they're talking about eliminating your privacy. Human rights is another very, very good example. They make very clear in this document that your rights can be restricted under the guise of public order or morality or whatever the case may be. And so they're saying, here's your rights, but by the way, they're not really rights. We can revoke them at any time. The UN is filled with contradictions like this. Like, for example, when they talk about gender equality, right? A normal person in the Western world thinks gender equality means a woman has a right to earn money, to own property, to have all the rights and privileges that a man would have. When you look at the individuals who lead this movement within the UN, you're talking about radical feminists. You're talking about people who are very interested in dissolving the nuclear family. As you dig into these goals, it's very clear we're dealing with something far more nefarious. Once you look past the marketing slogans, the kind of warm and fuzzy, we're going to end hunger, which again is just window dressing, you realize that this is actually a blank check for totalitarian global control.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development
Thank you
and the
so
Paris
much, Dave.
Climate
Thank you.
Agreement.
Yeah, well, you heard all of that, Carolyn. I mean, this is coming from people in the know. You know, I always, when I put things that I have confirmed on my Facebook page, I always put one word: facts, FACTS. Because very often people think we're talking about conspiracy theories. And as the person said, you know, they on the surface, everything appears to be honorable and really wonderful. I mean, poverty alleviation, alleviating hunger, good health, gender equality. Again, when he spoke there, gender
Quality
equality.
education.
Yes, all of these sound very, very meaningful and honorable. But there seems to be a nefarious and dark side to all of this.
When you look at it, the UN, they would have had 17 of them that they
Yes.
would have listed. And in Barbados, we compiled them into 6. We compact these 17 into 6 and decided we are going to go with them. But as you said, they seem all nice, good intentions and everything else, but there seem to be a downside, a dark side to them. And if you look at it, it is like you have just a fraction of the world, and I would say the unelected persons are dictating how the elected persons rule a particular country. And not only so, they are dictating that the entire world come together under this plan.
You know, I'm glad you're mentioning this about what I call the global elitists, because I doubt very many people know. If I call the word Davos, I doubt very many people in Barbados would know what I'm talking about. But Davos is an event that is hosted by the elite, the very, very wealthy of the world, and politicians are invited. It is not something held by governments where the private sector is invited. It is something held by the private sector, and governments are invited. And these elitists, I will call one name, which I think I would be comfortable in calling. I don't think Marcia would lose anything on the show with the algorithms on YouTube, but the name Charles Schwab. If you want to find out, ladies and gentlemen, about the World Economic Forum and Charles Schwab, do your due diligence. Look up Davos, go back 2021, 2022, 2023, come on down, and you will see presentations made at Davos by even our Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister sitting on the platform with these elitist individuals who themselves, unelected individuals, are setting financial and economic policy for the entire world. And that is, if you talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, we can go all the way back to 1993 with Al Gore, who was also talking about the matter of climate change. And I told people I'm going to deal with climate change on one of these programs. And I'm going to expose all these lies and scams that these hypocrites have come up with to fool us into thinking that we have a world that is suddenly going to be destroyed because of humanity. It's total insanity, but that's another subject for another time. But Carolyn, these persons that you mentioned, they seem to be the people who are establishing policy as it relates to this 2030 agenda.
Yes. They are establishing the policy. They came up with the 17 particular areas. They came up with those 17 areas. And they're right here on the screen. And persons could go and get the necessary information for the 17 areas. But what the government of Barbados seemed to have done, and I'm not sure if it was, maybe I'm asking the questions. I love to ask questions. Is this a way of probably blindsiding us so that we would not realize that these 6 plans that are put before us came from the 17 areas of the UN 2030 agenda for sustainable development. I'm not sure, or as is indicated during my research, the government, the labor, and the private sector, they got together and they produced 6 national missions tailored. They tailored it to the island's unique challenges.
Oh wow, that's some nice language.
Yes, they tailored it, so that I guess we cannot go. I'm not sure why it was tailored, as it is said, to our unique challenges. But nevertheless, our plan, the Bridgetown or the Barbados, the Mission Barbados, that's what it's called, came from these 17, or from the UN 2030 agenda. So that's why we would hear our leaders talking about 2030 agenda. So we took them and we compacted together to, what should I say, suit our unique challenges at Barbados. So we came up with things like active citizenship, food and water security, sustainable ocean state, public health and safety, economic empowerment, and digital transformation. So we compacted all of these 70 into these 6 and said, these are the goals we want to meet come 2030. And when I saw that, I asked the question, are we still firm craftsmen of our fate? Or is our fate being manipulated by, again I said, an unelected few in the world?
But Carolyn, let me ask you this, because again, as you said, we love to ask questions because
Yes.
we're not the experts, and we ask questions.
Exactly.
We do research. We ask questions because we hopefully the experts will be able to answer the questions. But you mentioned 6 aspects, and I wonder if we could just quickly go back through them and take a look at them one by one as to what these 6, which, as you mentioned, are a compacting of 17 into what the Barbados government would consider specially tailored.
Okay.
And I must add that so that the viewers understand that these 17 sustainable development goals, there is nothing tying any government to these goals. Okay, it is not a agreement or anything of the sort. Governments can voluntarily take them on or whatever, but
an agenda.
The agenda. But as you know, there are powers of persuasion, which St. Vincent is now experiencing now in terms of the massive debt that St. Vincent is now struggling with as a result of the previous administration under Ralph Gonzalez. So that we have to understand that while it is optional in that sense, there is no agreements or anything of that nature forcing countries to adopt it, that there is what should I say, Carolyn, underlying persuasion, so to speak, to move you into this agenda. So could we take a look at them one by one quickly and see how it is scheduled to impact Barbados?
All right.
What our concerns should be.
Yeah, let me quickly go through the 17 and then show how they have been compacted into 6. So the 17 is no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, affordable and clean energy, climate action, good health and well-being, and they're not in order, clean water and sanitation, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, reduce inequality, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals. And those are the 17 that are there. And in Barbados, we have the government, labor, and the private sector. They have compacted these into the 6 national missions, tailored, as it is said, to the island's unique challenges. So we have tailored these now into sustainable ocean state. And we said we were looking to achieve 100% sustainability in domestic activities. Active citizenship. We were going to empower and engage citizens in national development. Listen, this one, empower and engage citizens in national development. Then the third is food and water security. We said we're going to ensure equitable access to these resources. Then public health and safety. We're aiming for a 50% reduction in the NCDs and crime. Number 5 was economic empowerment, reducing poverty by 50% and promoting ownership. Then we have the digital transformation, creating a resilient, high-functioning digital society. So those were, yes. Those are the 6 that we compacted them into.
And I wonder if you could quickly just, we may not be able to handle all of them tonight. I just had a problem with my camera here. I'm not sure if it's the internet or whatever. So you would have noticed my background has changed. That's my green screen behind me. Normally, it gives me the access to different imagery, but I think we can live without that. This first one, as a matter of fact, don't let me take them necessarily in the order that you've called them. I'm particularly and curiously interested in the active and empowered citizens. I believe you mentioned every Barbadian to be fully engaged in national life, socially, economically, and culturally. The mission focuses on civic participation, entrepreneurship, creativity, and community leadership. What I don't see there is any involvement of the citizens in the decision-making processes as to the direction of their country and the assets of their nation, such as, for example, over $200 million of property given away to the Afro-Exim Bank on Gemma's Lane, which the Barbadian public had nothing to do with. We were not engaged. We were not asked. We were not shared with the potential, nothing. And that does not belong to the Barbados Labour Party. I keep saying to people, Carolyn, that the country does not belong to the state. It belongs to the people.
Yes.
And I don't know, we just can't
It does
seem
not
to
belong
get
to
it.
a party.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't even belong to the government if the government is not by the people, for the people, and of the people, as a republic is supposed to be. So how can we be talking about active and empowered citizens when they are not involved in the major decision processes as to where their country is going to be in the next how many years?
Yes, that is, it is written, but It is not action.
So
And
what we're hearing then is I can't remember who's the Calypsonian that talked about not a long talk, not a long talk, not a long talk. I can't remember who it was that did that one. But you know, when I hear, for example, the Prime Minister in a recent visit to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank in the United States of America, talking about 40 and 50-year loans for health, education, and water resources resilience. Those were the three areas. She didn't talk about 40, 50-year loans generally, just those three areas that was she spoke of. And I question the wisdom. Does she understand what she's talking about when she talks about putting a country into a 40 to 50-year debt commitment with an organization such as the IMF and the World Bank?
but in order to maintain or achieve these, it is said that this would put a country into extreme financial pressure.
Yes.
And we're
Yes.
seeing it. We're seeing it. We're seeing it. This costs money, massive funding to do that. And if you have to meet the international debt targets, you know, of 60% GDP by 2035, that's what they say. Government has to maintain a strict 4% primary surplus. And this limits the money available for social programs in the event the economy slows down. So trying to maintain this or trying to achieve this puts a small country under extreme financial pressure. Now, as we can see, we're seeing that in Barbados. We're seeing it in Barbados. And when we are pursuing these, also social programs are neglected. Social programs are neglected. And again, we are seeing that as well. So there is a cost to pursuing this. There's a cost to pursuing this.
And then, Carolyn, I am noticing one as well to do with water and food security for all. Now, I must confess, I did not know that we had a problem with everybody in Barbados accessing water. And when I say that, I mean as a right, as a Barbadian citizen. I'm not talking about the available infrastructure. I'm not talking about that, because if we're still talking about that in 2026, what it has said to me is that we have had subsequent government failure down to the last 60 years. Because I understand, Carolyn, there's still some people who have pit toilets in Barbados. And I don't want anybody to think I'm naive.
Yes,
but
that is so.
To be reasonable, in 2026, it is an insult to offer a 600 square foot house to a Barbadian. That is an insult to his intelligence, because things have changed dramatically. You have governments asking people to have larger families, but you want to put them in a house that we would have lived in back in 1940 something or 30 something, 600 square feet. You haven't even made provision for communities to have indoor toilet facility. I can't believe this. Not in 2026.
Trying to maintain this has reversed certain things in Barbados. And I would say to you things like, yes, Persons may have running water in their houses and everything else. But for example, and I will use St. Lucie for an example, the amount of water outages that we are getting now, actually, we are going to portable, to the portable water, the water tanks.
But we're getting it too. We're getting it
we
too.
went years ago to the standpipe.
We're getting it too, Caroline. And
So
now
we're back here.
They tell me there have been some problems like at the pumping stations and so on. But over last week, we had about 2 or 3 days of very low water pressure. Now, I have heard the argument made, and I remember Kimar dealing with Jobby Water for a long time in terms of taking our sewage water. Let me be brutally frank and honest. Taking the toilet water that comes when you use your toilet and you flush it, taking that water, refining it and pumping it back into our aquifers for us to drink. This is not done even in Japan. Japan uses this water for agriculture. They do not use it for human consumption. And there are several other countries that do this, but they don't use it for human consumption. And to hear us talking about food security when the farmers in this country are having so much hell getting subsidies from the government. That is why our farmers cannot compete with imported vegetables, because those imported vegetables come from countries where farmers are subsidized by their governments. So I can buy a package of carrots for a quarter the price you can buy a package of carrots for in Barbados. And don't tell me about the quality, because at the end of the day, Caroline, it is what a man has in his pocket that he has to pay for. So while we might have better local carrots, we just can't afford them.
They're more expensive than the imported ones.
Yeah, and that is just, I'm just referring to carrots. The other day I went looking for watermelon. Watermelon, $20 in a popular for a slice of watermelon. I can get watermelon in Trinidad. I don't know what it is now, but it must be some at 6 to 1. It probably pay about $80 for a whole big watermelon. And I don't know if we are agreeing, if we are growing watermelon in Barbados. I think we are, but I'm almost tempted to think it would be cheaper for us to import watermelons from Trinidad and Guyana than to grow them here, because their governments are helping their farmers.
I think if it is grown here, that we should be able to have it at a cheaper price. I just do not understand how, after all of the necessary taxes that are imposed on the imported goods, they can still land on the supermarket shelf and be cheaper than goods that are grown here. It would seem, and I would ask the question: Is this a plan to frustrate our farmers?
I want to answer this question by Kenneth Norville. He's asking me, what do I suggest we do as a country to fix these infrastructural issues without having to get these 40 and 50-year loans? Go to the philanthropic donors, Kenneth. I had a conversation with a financial individual at the Caribbean Development Bank several years ago, and I asked that individual, who now has a top financial company in this country, what is the way that we could get out of the crisis economically and financially in Barbados as it relates to borrowing money from the IMF and the World Bank? And he did not hesitate. He said straight to me, philanthropic donors. He said, Reverend Nichols, there are hundreds of philanthropic donors out there who are willing to give grants to this government and to the governments in the Caribbean. But the reason they don't do so is because, one, the governments don't want the grant, although we've heard our Prime Minister talk about obtaining some grants. They don't want the grant. And then secondly, it's the conditions with the grant. And most of the philanthropic donors that I have engaged as a representative for an international organization overseas do not want their money in the hands of a government because they're too corrupt. And they're simply saying, if it is going to be funding anything in the country, it has to go straight to the purpose for which it has been given. So there are ways that we can do this, but the conditions are a little different to the IMF and the World Bank. And this was not me, Caroline. This was a financial director at the Caribbean Development Bank, because I used to go there regularly because they were one of my major clients with BMW when I worked there. And I asked a lot of questions, just like we are doing tonight. And this is what he said to me. So obviously there are alternatives out there that we can use, but for some reason governments are not taking them on.
It would seem as if we prefer the international or the foreign institutions rather than those who are close to us.
Why don't we go to Burkina Faso? Gold and oil, billions of dollars in his economy. Why don't we go to them for a loan? Why don't we go to some of the African countries? I know people are going to push back at me with the Afro-Exim Bank. The reason I feel the Afro-Exim Bank should buy the property is because they have had billions of dollars in profits over the last several years. Billions of dollars. They can afford to pay for it. But instead of that, we're giving away a national asset. That land does not belong to the Barbados Labour Party. It doesn't even belong to the government. It belongs to the people. If we're talking about government, it is government by the people, for the people, of the people. It is a national asset.
Yes. You are correct. You are correct there. You are so correct.
I may not be an economist and I may not be all these fancy things, but my mother used to say to me, common sense is not common.
True. That is so true.
But what about the wellness, health, and I know we have to go on to the next segment as well. But what about this matter of wellness, health, and public safety? We just had less than 2 days ago, if my mind served me correctly, another killing.
Yes.
And is it not correct that a government's primary responsibility is the security and safety of its citizens?
You are correct. Not only do we have rising crime, but we have a rising STDs. So
well, you take that one.
Those two areas, those two areas are come back to the Mission Barbados. These are two areas that we definitely have not met, or we are far out from, or we are very far from the 2030 goal. Because if we're talking about reducing by 50% the STDs and the
NCDs, non-communicable diseases as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
But isn't the part of reducing them, Caroline, making what is healthy affordable for persons to purchase?
Of course.
But that is not what we are seeing.
So you have the goals, but what you are seeing are the opposite to meeting some of the goals. So if you don't make healthy foods available, how can we reduce these illnesses? How can our health improve if what we need to improve our health is way out of our reach? It doesn't make sense. It does not.
It doesn't.
So the question is, are we really serious, or do we just have, we're just talking, we just have it nice and settled? This is what we are aiming to do. So when we go there, someone can give us the loans, the necessary loans, because of course we have a plan and we put it out there. So if you're going to the bank for monies, you have, what you're going to do with the money. So you have all your paperwork, you have it well laid out, impressive. And so the bank would read what you plan to do with it, and they will give it to you easily. because you have a plan. But when you get that money, my question is, are we really doing what we said we would do with all of this money?
So what you're talking about then is the execution of this plan, if
Yes.
there's a plan at all. And I'm not saying
Yes.
there's no plan. I mean,
We
just
have it
to,
in writing.
just to put something out there doesn't make it a plan. It may make it a goal, but in order to achieve that goal, there must be a process that people can see. Step one, step two. When you go to a financial institution, since you mentioned it, Carolyn, and you go to them with your business plan, you set your goals and so on, and then they want to see how you are going to achieve what you are intending to do. Now, you can put down a whole set of fancy stuff on paper. That doesn't take much, I can go to Chat GPT today, and Chat GPT will spit it out for me in less than 15 seconds. But that doesn't mean that it's something that I can actually achieve. So when we start talking about,
go ahead.
sorry, when we start talking about health and wellness, are we giving consideration to how expensive by comparison, based on a person's revenue, it is to eat healthy in this country? I can go into the supermarket and buy what you call mac and cheese, pasta, sardines, a lot cheaper than I can buy Belgian beef, turkey, cauliflower. What's the one like a brain again? I keep forgetting that. Broccoli, cabbage. When I look at the cost of those things, Carolyn, and I think of the ordinary Barbadian, I went into Cost You Less just a day ago, and I picked up a package of kiwis, which are supposed to be excellent for your eyes, okay, when you sleep. I was shocked at the price, but I had to buy it. I had to buy it. $20 and something cents for about 6 or 7 kiwis.
Yes.
And it's important for my health. But I can pick up fried chicken and all of those things with the oil and whatnot a whole lot cheaper. So I wonder if in terms of the plan for wellness and health, if the government is also, and don't tell me now with this $100 nothing that they give to nobody, because that's only for a year and that's a stopgap. And I can tell you that on the basis of what we see happening out in the Middle East, that $100 ain't going to turn nothing. That can be gone before you get to the supermarket door. Because before the $100 was given, chicken was $22. Now the $100 is given, chicken is $35. So what the $100 means? Mind you, thank God, don't get me wrong. Thank God, praise God. But you can't look at that and tell Bajans that this is a gift from the government. Where you get the money from? Who has to pay it back? You giving me $100 and then you taking $150 from me in order to pay back the loan that you have taken so you can give me this money?
There are so many
questions.
Yes, so many questions. There's so many questions. And it is concerning because the loans are there, the grants are there, because I believe the plan is here and what is intended, and therefore the funding is available based on the financial reports that we are getting. GDP levels are good and everything else. So we are in a position where people will lend us, and therefore you have a government that is taking advantage of the situation. And you don't have a problem if you borrow the money and you can see what you are spending it in. You can see the results. For instance, housing, all those millions gone. Where are the houses? You don't see any.
Housing, Carifesta, we borrowed over $500 million for road infrastructural repairs.
Yes.
And you know how many people I've talked to who have gone to automotive art to have their tires replaced, rims replaced, shock absorbers replaced. Ain't no point sending a bill to the government because it can take them so long to get back to you that you would probably have sold the car, but like I did, by the time it gets back to you. So, these are questions that, quite frankly, have got to be answered. But Carolyn, this brings us, it's just intriguing how these things feed into one another, because this brings us to the other component of tonight's discussion. And that is the one to do with this data center that is scheduled to be constructed in Greenland and St. Andrew. And people may wonder, what is the connection? The data centers are a part of the 2030 agenda.
Yes.
Okay, let's do your research. We are doing ours because we want to find out what the Prime Minister means by the 2030 agenda. Remember, a part of it, number 6, a digital, inclusive, and resilient society. Is that correct, Carolyn?
Yes.
Isn't that what the number 6 one is?
Yes, digital transformation. Yes.
Is a
Creating
part of that.
Resilient, high-functioning digital society.
And that is an admirable goal because, of course, we are moving into a AI technological environment that I have heard many political leaders across the world express concern about. I'm not a favorite of this gentleman in the Democrats. I almost said Colonel Sanders. What's his name again? He ran for president along with Hillary Clinton when the Democrats are running. I'm trying to remember his name now. But he raised the issue. It will come back to me. He raised the issue of the concern of these digital centers that are being established and the AI connection. And he raised a concern because he indicated that these facilities and this technology is going to eliminate millions of jobs across the world.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, he spoke to the matter of a moratorium being placed on the overall development. He talked about Elon Musk speaking to the whole matter. His name, I got his name here. I'm going to get his name here in front of me in just a minute. But he spoke to Elon Musk with regards to this entire matter about Elon Musk, raising the whole question of the speed at which it is occurring and the necessity for governments to put a brake on the Bernie Sanders. Thank you, Glenn. Bernie Sanders. And he's not one of my favorites, but when facts are shared, facts are shared. I don't care about the person. When facts and truth are shared and so on, I don't care who shares it. But if in America, Carolyn, they're expressing concerns to do with energy consumption, and I am told that our data center is scheduled to consume something like 13 megawatts of current. I can't remember how regularly, but clearly it is going to be an energy consumer of astronomical proportions.
Yes.
And
then
so,
our light bills will be going up.
But you see, the problem here, Marcia, and I must say this, that I want our fellow Barbadians to hear this. Do your research. America has just, not America, one company in America has just shut down a multi-acreage solar energy field because it is what's the word I'm looking for? Uneconomical to operate. And I wonder how many of us are paying attention to the little niggers, the little pygmies that they're using down in Africa to mine the lithium for all these batteries and all these different kinds of things. You see, them little niggers down in Africa, they're live in nothing. Them is little stinking little niggers down in Africa. We can afford to kill them, and they got millions of them. We can kill them out, no big deal. But those children, I don't hear a single international agency that represents children saying a word about it. Not a word. I don't hear the Prime Minister here. I don't hear Barbados here say anything. I don't hear a single human rights individual speaking on the behalf. And forgive my description. I am deliberately describing it that way because that is the way that they see them little black little nigger pygmies down in Africa. That is exactly how people like Bill Gates and Charles Schwab see those people. That is why I strongly support that leader in Burkina Faso who tell them, get out of my country and go and find something to do.
Oh dear. I know one of the other things that increase, it uses plenty water.
Oh shoot, I didn't even get to that.
Yes. Yes. Consumes gallons of water to cool for cooling the equipment, and we are considered a water scarce country.
Are they going to be using the jobby water for that then?
I don't know if they are they going to be getting some water from the sea and
desalination plants, because
yes,
that's in St. Andrew.
Yes, we have water all around us. Are they going to do that? But
I don't want anybody to get us wrong here. This proposed data center is a significant infrastructure project. We get that. We understand the significant importance.
It's economic development. Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely, and not only economical development in terms of Barbados as a government, but as it relates to opportunities for work and that type of thing, because it is a labor developing, a labor providing environment.
Pastor Ferdy, I am seeing in my research, you have eventually you may have labor work in building the plant, but when it is all finished, you have minimal local employment, because despite the size, they employ very few local staff, and it says sometimes fewer than 50.
And not only fewer than 50, but also they have to be high paying and high skilled.
Yes, they're high paying and high skilled, and the question has to be asked. Who will get those jobs? Will Barbadians get these jobs? Or are we going to import persons from outside, as we usually do, for these high-paying, high-skilled jobs? Do we even have the skills here?
This is and folk, listen. We understand. We understand the value of the facility. Don't get us wrong. Yes. Barbados is very strategically located between North and South America. We have a very reliable international connectivity via what we call submarine cable systems. And this could position Barbados as a regional digital hub where governments can move away from cloud positioning, so to speak, and put their information on a physical location rather than what we call in the cloud. I remember hearing Judge Judy talking about she ain't putting her money or nothing in the cloud. She wanted it in her hands. So I don't know. But, the thing about it is that for all the positives that we are hearing, I am also seeing, Carolyn, that there are some potential concerns and risks involved.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about this, because the government never talks about this aspect.
Then you have the noise pollution as well. because these plants can be very noisy. You have the pollution from the diesel generators, the air pollution.
Of course,
And
they're going to be looking to use non-fossil capability, but then what we are going to have to look at is the enormous consumption of land
Yes.
to establish a facility that can power this data center, because you talk about noise. I think you mentioned about the enormous consumption of electricity and water.
Yes, and the water. Yes.
But then we have the aspect which I know one of our top cybercrime individuals spoke about. We have the aspect of cybersecurity with a centralized data storage, which now becomes a high value target. And we have had data breaches in Barbados at the BRA.
Many of the offices, government offices, yes, it has happened at BRA. You have it in certain private sector as well. So again, when it comes to the security, it's a high level risk.
That is the cybersecurity that you are speaking of.
Yes.
But you know, if it's handled well and if it's executed well,
yes,
it can become a very transformative component for Barbados. But that is if it is executed and handled well. And I think we will all agree that on the basis of what we have observed when it comes to government in Barbados, I would ask questions about execution and management.
And it's going to cost billions in investment.
Well, I understand I'm just looking at my information here as well. I understand the capital costs are astronomical.
Yes, yes.
Have we heard anything? And I don't know. I'm asking the loyal opposition as well. Have you heard anything concerning how this is going to be funded?
And the costs.
And what it will cost, and who will receive the contracts for the clearing of the land, the preparation of the
building,
land, the building, the construction. Does anybody know
Barbadians be employed?
Because I believe even in construction, that would have to be a relatively specialized field, because to me it can't just be a building. I would want to believe that certain aspects of construction, certain security, certain precautions have to be put in place. I mean, you're talking about a location in Barbados that can receive quite high levels of rainfall. You're talking about a location in Barbados that is exposed to high wind aspects such as hurricanes and storms because they come across the Atlantic. And the east coast of Barbados faces the Atlantic. So we need to talk about, we need to ask about those things. Is there anything else in terms of
It is expected to take up massive space.
Well, but
the question is, if we are putting it, and we say we are putting it in Greenland.
In Greenland.
If I think that's what I would have heard. Can you imagine the massive construction in that area? Do we have to go ahead to build in that area? Those are questions we're asking.
And what about the potential? Because as I did my research, Caroline, there are two things that concerned me. And one had to do with a subject called political misuse. And they were stating that in the wrong hands, centralized data can be weaponized against political opponents,
Yes.
journalists,
Yes.
activists, or dissenters. They
Citizens.
stated,
Yes.
yes, they stated potential abuse includes selective audits or investigations, monitoring opposition figures, targeting whistleblowers, profiling critics of government policy, chilling free speech through perceived surveillance.
Pastor Freddy,
E-
you sure we don't have one of these in Barbados already? Because some of the things you sure it's not completed? Because some of the things you are saying there, I'm sure it would seem like it is already happening.
you see, the thing about it is, again, they're stating that data localization can become data monopolization. Keeping data in Barbados is strategically wise, but if government becomes the sole gatekeeper, innovative and competition may suffer. Innovation. And again, the recommendation is to have an independent individual handling this responsibility apart from any government, so as to maintain the integrity of the data collection centers systems and keeping them out of the hands of government, because government can, and I know government will, abuse this process.
Yes, yes.
And there
We
is
are
a
so small.
direct connection between the digital ID and the data centers.
Yes.
Because the National Data Center, I want you all to listen. I hope people listen to this video when we're finished, Carolyn, because Emma is educate, motivate, mobilize, and agitate.
Agitate, yes.
The National Data Center often serves as the backbone for digital ID systems. This has been established in Estonia, in India, and in China. Estonia is the golden standard, and you know what China is. We ain't even got asked questions about China. There's 600 million cameras in China or more, face recognition cameras. All right.
So Pastor Ferdy, is this a setup for control?
But according to the research that I have done, it can be used. And as a matter of fact, some of the people who are behind the advancing of the utilization of data centers are warning that it can be used for governmental surveillance and control. And the reason they're warning is because it's done in India and China, especially China. And we have had the Chinese Communist Party sitting at Roebuck Street with the Barbados Labour Party, which is now the government of this country. So somebody has to tell us, nobody has said yet, what was the content of the meeting with the CCP and the BLP. As the government of Barbados, as the party forming the government, you are obligated to tell the people what was discussed in that meeting. And of course, we don't expect the truth. We don't expect the truth. Well, Carolyn, I will say this. These two subjects that we have taken on tonight are exhaustive and extensive.
Yes.
Both of them. And I hope that we will have an opportunity to come back to this next Friday. I hope that you will be able to make it back onto the show with me next Friday, that we can pick up on these two subjects, because I do want to give Apostle Scantlebury his full time for what he has to share with us tonight. But we want to come back to this. Next week. So I hope Marcia is listening. I hope she will we can persuade her to involve these two aspects again. Good evening, Apostle Scantlebury. A pleasure to have you joining myself and Carolyn again tonight.
Oh my!
And we want to just step out of the way because we've been talking all evening. So we're going to. You agree with me, Carolyn? We can keep quiet now.
Sure.
Let him talk, because I'm going to get some water. I got my water here, and I'm going to turn you loose, Apostle. Good evening and welcome again to the Marcy Week Show, looking as smart as always, sir. Good evening.
Thank you so much. I try to keep it that way, sir. And great to be with you tonight. And Madam Carolyn, it's good to see you as well. I trust you guys had a wonderful day today.
Sure.
Mine
was a working one.
Mine was restful.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear that. Listen, we're just rearing to go tonight with this session and some things that I told Madam Weeks that I really want to get into tonight. Two things really to deal with this whole rollout of this money to churches, and also the second part of what I want to. I probably should deal with this first. I made a statement a number of years ago, and I've made that statement again, that we're dealing with we're not one of the most, I should say. We're dealing with the most demonic government that we've ever had. Okay? And I'm not going to stop saying that. We're dealing with the most demonic government we've ever had. Time and time again, this administration has used deception and distraction to pass laws. Okay? However, can you imagine that we had the president of Venezuela here on an official visit? And at the same time, the president of Venezuela is here. We have this young influencer on our shores at the same time. Crazy little boy racing a horse. Okay, I had my money on the horse from the beginning. Okay. But while the president of Venezuela is here, which should have been publicly announced, publicly showcased, at the same time, we had this influencer, our young children, Barbados, in disarray, distracted. And while they're in the state of distraction, they're moving with this immigration and citizenship bill. Okay?
Yep.
Now,
yep.
Rev, you know, this is the operation of demonic forces. Okay? Distract you while they're passing their laws. This has been the operation of this administration from the inception. Okay? Passing laws at midnight, changing words. And if we didn't have Mr. Franklin, who caught the word change from spouse to partner, if we didn't have Mr. Thorne to see the subtle changes that they made to the Constitution, a lot of things would have slipped by Barbadians. A lot of things would have happened. Even the cyber crimes bill that they were pushing secretly, they wait on moments while Barbadians are distracted. Events that comes in to Barbados and times and seasons to pass things just like they did with this bill. Right on the heels of a presidential visit, the visit of an influencer, and then in the midst of all of that frenzy, they're going to go ahead with this law. This is what I want individuals to understand. They are not being led by themselves. There is a very dangerous force that is leading them down this path to make sure that whenever they're going to pass laws, that they distract the people, they're not informing the people, and before you know it, the next day, this bill is being passed. I'm saying this to Barbadians that the time has come to wake up and realize the tactics that are being used by this administration. They don't tell the people anything, and it's all one big party after another. While the people are partying and having fun, they're going into parliament and they're passing laws changing up the Constitution, well, changing up what they call the Constitution and putting hardships on the people of God. Now, this is where the church comes in. And my point of order is this, Rev. And I'm gonna say this because I'm want to be very clear on this. Any organization, any bishop, or any apostle, any prophet, any pastor, any teacher, any reverend, any evangelist, any church that signs up for money from this government out of that $5 million, we need to have a public record of the names of the bishops and the organizations that are signing up for that money. My reason is this: based on the fact that you have to pretty much deny the Bible to apply for this money. Based on that, we need to give the other ministers in that organization, and we need to give the membership of that organization, we need to give them a chance to decide if they want to continue to stay as members within that organization after the head of the organization has gone ahead, applied for this money from the government, after the government has clearly stated these are the stipulations. So you can't speak against us, you can't speak against the LGBT, you can't speak against transgenderism, you can't speak against gender orientation, you can't speak against this, you can't speak against that, and we can't speak to them when they have done wrong. This is the position of the church, okay? We are the ones that set the temperature. We set, and it's not a matter of us being self-righteous. The reality is that nations belong to the Lord. We have a statement of Barbados being a Christian nation. We cannot have individuals that are moving our nation away from God and still want to be our leaders. We can't have leadership that's trying to silence the church, and then the church assigning or agreeing with them, and then taking their money, and then being under the yoke of this administration as far as elections are concerned. Then you can't speak, you don't have a voice, because you've already taken their money. I think the time has come for there to be an open understanding of this. So if a bishop of a church has gone and applied for that money on behalf of his organization, then we need to know which organization, so that we give individuals within ministers who don't agree with it and members who are not in agreement with it to make a decision. Because you cannot be there and have a bishop or an apostle or a prophet that has taken money from the government under the conditions that the government stipulated, and your members don't know, your ministers don't know. Okay, I remember when I saw the list of the last set of ministers that were receiving funds from the government. A lot of the money was not money written to the churches. A lot of the money was personal money. Okay, and I think the time has come for, if they're talking about transparency, then I'm asking for that tonight. We need to know, Rev, we need to know which of our brethren and sistering in Barbados are selling out. We need to have a clear understanding of who's who in Barbados at this moment. And this is not a time for individuals to hide behind the cloth. If you know that you're going to sell out on us, and this is what was told to me when I made mention of it, I had a call from a fellow minister, well known in the island, and he said, you know, Apostle, you know, you told on us, you know, you expose us, you know, you expose us. And I said, no, I didn't expose you. You exposed me when you went to the government and got money from them and nobody knew about it. So this, in my opinion, I'm saying it again, this is the most demonic government that this nation has ever had. And the way that they continuously operate in terms of how they secretly pass laws in the midnight hour, while Barbadians are distracted, that's when they go and do it. This is a clear sign that they are not operating under the rule of wisdom. It tells me that something very dark and dangerous is controlling and leading these people. And the time for the church to wake up, because the reality is getting money from the government is not going to change the state of crime. The state of crime is far beyond the control of the church at the moment. And most of those individuals know that the crime wave in Barbados is coming out from the dimension of corruption that we've had in Barbados since COVID began. Okay, I had a police officer, a friend of mine, sergeant, said to me, Apostle Scantlebury, listen to me. You have no idea the amount of drugs and guns that came into Barbados during COVID. So this was a problem that started a long time ago. And it is not one that the church can fix by simple prayer or just having programs for young people. It's not one that can be fixed. It is one that is seriously, heavily placed on the government, and one that is placed on our police force and our army and those individuals at the helm of corruption. And the church, if we really need to pray, we need to spend some time praying specifically that those who are involved in corruption in Barbados, whether at the seaport, whether at the airport, those in business, those in politics, those in whatever area in Barbados, all of those individuals who are involved in corruption in Barbados, we pray for them to be exposed so that the public would know. If you really want to deal with this, because at 16, no boy has that type of money to buy a gun. So something is going on in our nation. Something is happening in Barbados, and the folk at the top, they know exactly what is happening. So my position is very, very clear. If an organization is going to go ahead after the government says, this is what you have to agree to, if we're going to give money to you, we're going to disperse money out of this 5 million. This is what you have to sign off on. This is what you have to agree to. This is what you have to stop doing. And men and women of God around this nation still goes ahead and sign on and agree to this. We need to know who you are, because the time to know who has been selling us out in this nation, we need to know, especially where the church is concerned, we need to know who those persons are. This must not be done under the carpet. This must not be done in darkness, and nobody ever knows about it. And I'm making my point absolutely clear here tonight, Rev. We need a list made known, made publicly. The organizations, the churches, the leaders of these organizations who have assigned and signed over their lives, signed over their ministries to receive monies out of this 5 million. We need to know who they are, so that the other ministers and members in those organizations who do not agree are given the opportunity to say, I'm sorry, but I can no longer sit under this leader. I can no longer be a part of this organization, because this organization has turned its back on God. And that's where my point is, and the points that I want to make here tonight on the show, Rev. Back over to you.
Well, Apostle, I can tell you, you have my full agreement, 194%. I keep in the point, 6% for the bill. All right. I engage my bishop. I'm a Pentecostal Assemblies of the West Indies minister, ordained minister. And I engaged my bishop about this matter. And I was encouraged by his statement. He actually said to me, Ferdinand, that's a no-brainer. In other words, based on the conditions, because the bill the draft bill. Let me say draft bill because it hasn't been, as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been debated or passed in Parliament as yet. It's a draft, and the Minister of Labour, I believe, met with church leaders, and they had some discussions on the matter.
Yes,
But
they did.
the draft bill, and I think we touched on this, under section 4222,
Correct.
says the following interventions will not be eligible for funding. And I will go straight to the one that says actions which discriminate against individuals or groups of people on the grounds of their gender. That is clear.
Yes.
Don't let's beat around the bush. They're talking about lesbians, bisexuals, transgender. Don't let's beat around the bush. I find that we want to be too politically correct as a church instead of just calling a spade a spade. Jesus did not hesitate to talk about that old fox and dead men's bones and all that, whitest sepulchres. He did not hesitate. And I wouldn't like to tell you what that would be in Bajan terminology. He was speaking in a Jewish environment. But
Right.
if we were to translate that into Caribbean, don't even go to Jamaica. If you were to translate that into a Caribbean environment, I wouldn't like to tell you what it would sound like. Okay? So let's stop beating around the bush. Sexual orientation. That was amended and introduced in the Human Rights Charter to make provision for the LGBTQ group who is driving the global agenda, Carolyn, that we've been talking about, that 2030 agenda. The major proponents behind that 2030 agenda is the LGBTQ group.
Yes.
Don't let's beat around the bush. I find that we don't want to embarrass people or confront people. If I confront you and it's the truth, the problem we are dealing with today, Apostle, is that you can't criticize anybody. Otherwise, they want to assassinate you or kill you.
Right. Right. Correct.
But, I've often said, if Jesus Christ was alive, his ministry would not have lasted 3 years today. I doubt it would have lasted 3 months. I think he would have been crucified within 30 days. That's the honest truth. Right? Because they talk about sexual orientation, religious
Right.
beliefs or lack of them. Okay? But, Apostle, if you went back, I just want to make sure I get it. If you went back to section 1 of the same draft, section 1, it says there, the government believes that faith-based organizations have a pivotal role in the development of the values and sense of purpose in our young people and the peace and decency of our communities. In the government's 2026 manifesto, it pledged to create a special fund with $5 million per year.
Yes.
For faith-based organizations with highly impactful proposals to carry out social programs that keep our young people off the streets, impart skills, offer training, or otherwise build up the lives of our young people.
Right. Right.
As myself and Carolyn have been saying this evening, Apostle, it sounds good on the surface. These are honorable goals. I think we would all agree. We want our young people off the street.
No doubt.
None of us here would disagree with that. We want them skilled. We want to offer them training. These are things we want to do. But what we do not want to do is that we will not compromise our faith-based
Precisely.
positions.
Precisely.
Which the government, listen, in this draft, Apostle, it says this: faith-based organizations are pivotal role in the moral, spiritual, and social fabric of Barbados. Yet you want to muzzle the faith-based organization when you contain, according to the United Nations, according to this in the same document, Apostle.
Yes, it is.
I'm reading from the same document. okay? Faith-based organizations are organizations that derive inspiration and guidance for their activities. Listen to the wording. From the teachings and principles of the faith, or from a particular interpretation or school of thought within that faith, that they comprise a range of religious, charitable organizations, and so on. But this faith that we have says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God, and there is no other God but him." It makes, and this is what I said, Christianity makes no provision for any other religion. I am sorry. It doesn't. Sir. And Jesus Christ himself established that fact. He said, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. And I have said, Apostle, if the government of Barbados don't like the policy of our government that we represent, talk to the government. You can't talk to the ambassador. Because we can't change policy. We cannot change policy. You got to go to the government. I want to see them talk to the government and get him change policy.
Right. Right.
I mean, there are people who may agree or disagree, but this is our position as Christians. This is not an option. This is not an idea. This is not I don't even know what to call it. If you are a true Christian, and today it seems that we have to define what that is.
Correct.
If you are a genuine believer in Jesus Christ, this is why Canada wants to outlaw the Bible as a hate book. They're in the process of trying to do that now. The shift in our constitution from God to creator is to facilitate any and everybody.
Yes.
But unfortunately, whether we like to hear it or not, we are not a part of multi-faith nothing. God, the God of the Bible, is not a part of multi-faith nothing. I may upset a lot of people with it, but I can't say something different than the faith I subscribe to.
But I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement.
I agree with that too. So true.
I can't change it. And anybody who does that compromises the position. Not the position of the Bible or God, it compromises their position. Because his position will not change.
Right.
He still sees practices. And for those of you who are on this call tonight, on this session tonight, our God does not see adultery or homosexuality, lesbianism, transgender any different. He sees adultery. He calls them the works of the flesh are these. And so I am fully in agreement with the funding from the government to the churches, but not with any conditions. If you want the churches to assist you in the country, the same way people is give you a grant and hand you money and don't follow you up to ensure that the money you receive goes to what it was given for, you can do the same thing with the church. If you want to give the church a $5 million per year grant, no holds barred, no conditions involved or anything of the sort, I would sit down at a table and have a conversation with you. I don't know about you, Apostle, but under those conditions, I would. And I would even submit myself to accountability because it's a grant.
Yeah.
But from the time you start to put conditions on it, I got a problem.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with that, but here's my point. I know the craftiness of this administration.
Oh yes. Oh okay? Yes. Oh yes.
I know their craftiness and I know their ways.
Talk sweet.
And I'm telling you, but I know that this money is laced with satanic presence. Okay? By discernment alone. Okay? Now, let me just say this, and this is how a part of these four work with what we call covenants, okay? And pretty much, Rev, what they need is for you to covenant with them. Remember when Joshua and the new children of Israel went over into the promised land, Moses had warned him, and God had warned him, do not make any covenant with the people of this land. You're to wipe them out. Do not make any covenant with them. Now, they were tricked by the Gibeonites that were a part of the war. They encountered Joshua and they lied to Joshua and said, oh, we are just strangers and we found ourselves in the midst of this war. And Joshua made an agreement to protect them from the 5 kings. And then after they entered into the agreement with Joshua, they said, oh, well, we're just from over the hill, the next hill over there. That's where we're from. They tricked Joshua. Joshua said, okay, well, we entered into an agreement with you, so we can't kill you. So he put them to pretty much cut wood, made them, hewers of wood. So the Lord said, do not make any covenant with these people. Okay? Now, discernment will tell you that no man of God or woman of God should take money from an administration that buried our flag in Ghana.
Absolutely agreed.
Okay.
I just want to say here, I would not even take a grant.
Okay. See, discernment, Rev. Discernment.
Listen. Remember what I said? I said there would have to be no conditions, nothing, if I was even to consider it. But whenever you begin, you see, somebody said that the grants come with conditions.
Yes.
If a condition is going to be as it relates to what has to be done with the funding, I understand about this because I have got funding for this government, not just this government, the last administration. I got access to funding that could have eradicated our entire indebtedness to the IMF and the World Bank, to philanthropic donors. But it came with conditions. And one of the conditions was that the money should not be put in the hands of any government minister. It was supposed to go directly to the appropriate office, which pays the monies to the International Monetary Fund or to the World Bank. So that was the condition. You follow what I'm saying? So
Yes,
I understand.
Yes,
and I want you all to understand, I am well aware of these demonic in the entities, because as you said, Apostle, from the time that flag went into the earth, you violated the sovereignty of my country.
Thank you. Thank you.
If that had happened in Barbados with a police officer lowering our national flag at the Parliament buildings and it had touched the ground, he could have found himself at Dodds. But our Prime Minister has received no, let me get the word right, no chastisement. I wanted to make sure it was chastisement or chastising. No chastisement.
None of the persons that went with her. No. None of them.
Sorry, Carolyn, I crossed you. I apologize, yes, but you were making a point. You said that you were not even going to take a grant.
I was not going to take a grant. I would say if anyone offers you money, there is always almost something behind it.
Okay.
Even if they do not say it up front at the moment. When you receive monies from someone, it softens your heart towards that person. And then later on, that person can do something that you may not agree with. And because your heart is softened, you don't want to tell them or call them out on that. You tend to become silent.
Right.
You know,
You know?
they did not say to you there are terms and conditions, but they're automatically terms. So you have to look at the reputation of a person before you decide to pay their money, to take their money. And you also have to ask yourself, and maybe I see things different because I'm a woman and you are men, but you have to ask yourself, when or if this individual comes back to me, am I willing, or will I be willing to oblige whatever they come with?
You know, Carolyn, we were faced, and when I say we, Apostle, you would understand what I'm speaking about from church leadership positions.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We were faced and are faced with persons who want to contribute to our ministries. I have always had the deepest respect for people who want to contribute to our ministries, who don't even want to be identified. Because it tells me volumes about whoever that is. They're not doing it. You know, the Bible talks about don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Y'all ever heard that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, don't let your left hand know
what your right hand is doing.
What your right hand is doing.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. You take my wife's situation. Someone donated funding to us, Apostle and Carolyn, that looked after our entire period of time in Colombia, and we do not know who it is.
Right.
That is why you will hear me even on this show thank people, because I don't know who it is. I don't even know if I've met the person in the supermarket or what. I don't know. I can't find out. I have tried to find out just to express our gratitude. But to be honest with you, I feel better not knowing who it was.
Good.
Because I don't have that sense, as you mentioned, Carolyn, of a obligation.
Yes.
Because it is something that lies within you, even as a human being.
Yes.
You know, there is a sense of obligation when people do things for you and you know.
Yes, it softens your heart.
If you follow, you know.
Yes.
And I will tell you, my wife has done so many things for so many people, and they don't know it is her. And I'm sure you all have had your own experiences where you will do things for people and you will tell them, you know, don't worry about it, don't this or whatever. And inevitably, people still feel a sense of obligation to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I understand fully what you are getting at, and especially the word covenant. I don't even know, Apostle, if they understood what they were saying, because that what their manifesto is not a covenant.
Right.
It is an agreement.
Yes.
Because a covenant does not depend on the agreement or involvement of any other party other than the one making it. That is why when God made the old covenant and the new covenant, he swore by himself.
Okay. Now.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It was totally irrelevant what man's position was. Otherwise, Jesus Christ would never have graced this earth. It does not require anything from mankind. Jesus had done it.
Yes.
But when you talk about a covenant with the people, from the time you talk about with the people and you get in their agreement, you're moving into a contract.
Yeah. Rev,
go ahead.
Can I just step in here for
just a moment?
Yes. Let me tell you what the Bible and let me unravel the Barbados Labour Party manifesto and their trickery as a covenant. The Bible tells us in Hebrews, let me give you the chapter and verse. Tells us in Hebrews chapter 6 and the 16th verse, men indeed swear by the greater than themselves, and with them in all disputes the oath taken for confirmation is final, ending strife. So two things. You're going to make a covenant you must have somebody greater than you. If the Barbados Labour Party puts themselves as the greater to make a covenant with the people, and the Barbados Labour Party is the one being voted for, the one voted for cannot be the one making the covenant because you are the lesser. The person voting for you is greater than you. The person voting for you is the one who should make the covenant and give the covenant to you, because men swear by the greater. So the people of Barbados, we are the greater, not the Barbados Labour Party.
For that matter, Apostle, not even the government is the greater. It's the people.
No. So you
people are the greater.
As the lesser, make a covenant with us. The covenant is made by the greater one, which is why the Bible says that when God made a covenant with Abraham, because there was no one greater to swear by, he swore by himself.
Correct.
So for the Barbados Labour Party to produce a document saying this is our covenant with you, how the lesser can be making a covenant with the greater?
That's because they don't see themselves as the servants of the
Thank
people.
You.
They
Thank
see
you.
themselves as the masters of the people.
Exactly. So this is backwards. This is backwards. Then it says the oath is taken. Okay? The oath. So you have to bring the oath in. And what is the oath, Rev? The oath is the part that says, if I don't do this, this is what you can do with me. So the oath is the binding factor. So what did they bring to the people to say, if we don't do this manifesto, this is what you can do? They brought no oath, Rev. So what they have is just words. It cannot even be classified as something as beautiful and powerful as a covenant.
As a covenant.
They are in no position to make a covenant with the people of Barbados. So
that's correct.
This is why we have to have understanding among our people. It's just playing with people's emotion and playing with people's minds. Just semantics. All of this jargon that they're bringing to the public, the Bible refutes all of it. The Bible takes everything that they have put together, roll it up, and throw it back in their faces.
You know, Apostle Carolyn, Apostle and Carolyn. I didn't mean that you were to call you Apostle Carolyn, but you probably might qualify anyhow. I don't know. But listen, I have said, and I really mean this with all of this within me. When our new constitution is formulated, I believe that from the time a candidate wins the constituency they represent, they should be required to resign from their party. Because you do not represent the party.
Correct.
You represent the people.
Correct.
So that sitting in parliament, you should be contending for what is in the best interest of the people, having engaged the people. So that how I have seen it is that if you are looking to pass a Barbadians, let me get it right, a Barbados citizenship bill, because I don't want to lose sight of that either, Apostle.
Yes, sir.
Because that bill facilitates the removal of citizenship as well as the granting of it. And that is at the discretion of the minister, which I think is an abomination. No single minister should have that power to remove the citizenship of any individual, because that can be politically utilized to silence the voices of people in this country.
Mm-hmm.
You have people who have been living here for 35 years, who are citizens of Barbados, who were not born here. And what you are saying to them is that you think you have the capability now to threaten them if they open their mouth and remove their citizenship and remove them from the country. No minister should have that power. That should lie in the hands of either the judiciary or a committee or some other totally independent entity who has no governmental association whatsoever.
Agree, Ralph.
So when those 30 people attend Parliament, there are 30 representatives of the people. There are not 30 members of the Barbados Labour Party. And it is time that people in this country wake up to that reality, not even if it was the DLP or the APP or the UPP. Parliament is not a place for a party. Parliament is a place for representatives of the people.
Come on. Come on.
So if you are going to pass a bill, if you are going to consider a bill, even before you presented that draft to the church's apostle, you should have met with the church leaders and shared with them what you are looking to do.
Right.
And see how they feel about the matter. But who gives a farthing what they feel? We're going to do what we feel like doing anyhow.
Exactly. Exactly.
And some of us are going to be, I'm not going to be say foolish. Some of us are going to be deceived enough because, as you have said, I agree with you. I agree with you. Because the Apostle Paul talks about the demonic operating in the realm of governments. That's what people think when they talk about high places. It is simply the heavens and that. But it's talking in places of authority, places where governmental decisions are made on a human level. The demonic powers that are at work in those realms. Not also in the realm, don't get me wrong, also in the spirit realms too. Yeah, we get that. But they need to have people to operate through.
Correct. 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 You know, Rev, let me just, I follow the laws that I've found after years of restudying the Bible. My wife can tell you I spent countless early morning hours, you know, for years going back over the Bible, restudying it. And I follow certain laws. I follow, you know, for me personally. But I remember in Genesis 14, Abraham fought against 5 kings. They went up against Chedorlaomer and his 4 kings went up against the king of Sodom. And when Abraham came back from slaughtering them with his 318 trained servants and their allies, the king of Sodom came to him and said, "You know what? Give me the men, and you can keep the goods." And Abraham told him, "I've lifted my hands to the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, and I have sworn that I would not take from a thread to a shoelace or anything that is yours, lest you should say I've made Abraham rich." So Abraham said, I told the Lord, yeah, I'll take stuff, but I told the Lord, I will not take anything that belongs to you. Okay? Lest you walk around and say you made Abraham rich. And when you check out the names of these kings that fought in the war, well, all of these names are demonic names.
That's correct.
Okay?
That's correct.
I do not understand how any man of God or woman of God can sit, even with this administration, to discuss $5 million when you buried our flag. I am not sitting to discuss anything with you or take anything from you, because your hands are not where the Lord wants your hands to be.
But not
so
only buried,
I can tell you that money is laced with demonic entities and demonic powers. You have no idea what that money was being used for before it got there, for them to be able to give you $5 million per year. You have no idea. Find out where that money is coming from. What did it come from? The IMF? Did it come from the bank? Did it come from somebody in Ghana? Did it come from some businessman in Nigeria? Did it come from somebody somewhere? Where are you getting $5 million from every year to give to the church? I need to know.
Did it come from China?
Precisely. And this is where, as I said, we have to have discernment in this country,
Yes.
especially in the churches. Because I can tell you, just like the Gibeonites, all they need is for you. This is why Balaam could not curse the children of Israel. He said they were too blessed, and none of the curses, none of the spells I'm using work on them. They're too blessed. You know what they decided to do? They said, okay, here's what we want to do. We're going to try to get them to intermarry. Try to get them to marry these other folk, and possibly the curse will work on them if we can get them to intermarry. And it's always been that system over and over. Even Abraham told his servant, listen, make sure when it comes to this boy, make sure that he does not get involved with the wrong person. And over and over and over again, you see this government getting involved with the wrong people. Certain folk slipping into Barbados, Nigerian businessmen, Ghana businessmen, this body from this country, this body from over here, the Saudis. You see this over and over and over again. There's no dialogue with the people. There's no ideas coming to the people. There's nothing happening within the parishes and within the communities to build and to lift. They're not building anything to uplift the people. They're not building any museums. They're not building bigger libraries. They're not building anything to say to Barbadians, we are interested in your upliftment. They're bragging about a few hotels, multi-level hotels that are being built, not by them, but by investors who are going to come and make money off Barbadians, put our people as maids and maintenance men and chefs and waiters and waitresses and home cleaning staff, gross. Listen, they don't understand what it takes to build a nation, and they've spent the last 7 years trying to show Barbadians they know what to do. They do not know what to do, Rev. And I do not understand after seeing and watching that video. And let me say this before I close. I had a friend of mine whose family member is a part of the Spiritual Baptist in St. Vincent. And they told me they showed that video to one of the top Spiritual Baptist leaders in St. Vincent. And when the gentleman watched it, he told them, I am sorry for the people in Barbados. So I do not know how men and women of God can freely, openly, and happily sit with this administration to discuss taking anything from them at all. It's beyond me to try to figure out what level they could be at, knowing what has happened to our country. And now, yeah, they painted the country red because all the streets are red every day, lined with the blood of our young men and our people. And something, Rev, something has got to come to put a stop to this.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Apostle, you talk about the flag, but and I'm sure you know about the libations as well. I think that's what they call it.
Yes.
That were poured on and said over that flag. I am not going to debate whether it remained in the ground or not. The mere fact that it touched the ground.
Yes.
The mere fact that it touched the ground.
Touch the ground, Rev. Touch the ground.
That in itself is, I would call a treasonous act from a leader of a country.
Yes.
And I make no apologies. I have observed, and I'm sure you have and Caroline have, I have always admired a military funeral in the United States. The dignity that it is carried out with as they honor a slain colleague. I have watched as they have brought those coffins off of aircraft draped with the flag of the United States. As that casket is placed in the automobiles that transport it. I have seen, as a matter of fact, I have been present in Pennsylvania at a mortician's home who was a minister, the Brotherhood Quartet. I spent time in one of their homes many years ago, and he was a mortician. I actually prepared a body for funeral. Went downstairs with him, and he showed me how they prepared the bodies and how they did the embalming and everything. And the meticulous care they take, even when they're doing the preparations and laying in the coffin, when they place that flag over the casket, Apostle, they ensure that there are little bits and pieces of like two-sided tape to ensure the flag does not even slide off the casket.
Yes, sir.
In the process of placing it in the in the vehicle, as you drive, you take a corner, the flag could move. They take all that precaution. Then when it arrives at the interment, they take that flag, all is said, everything is done, and as they come to the point where it is now to be lowered, those soldiers step forward and meticulously fold that flag.
Yes, sir.
And carefully place it in the hands of the family, however the family member is described, of that fallen individual. And when I see the meticulous care taken and the recklessness of our governmental officials in Ghana, I say to myself, the people of this country need to understand that the government is illegitimate, not because it has not gone through a democratic process, laughable as though that can be, of an election, but because you have performed a treasonous act. You have defiled the very said thing that you as the national leader pledged yourself to. That's why every time I come on my segments, I repeat that pledge to remind Barbadians where their initial commitment lies, not to a party, not to a government, but to a flag and to a country. Carolyn?
I was just
your thoughts.
There's so many things going through my head, and I wanted to say that I agree with the apostle that all church leaders who have taken that monies should come before the church, let them know how much money they have received and the terms of that money. There are persons in that church, maybe evangelists, who go out and, preach the word. So they need to know that they will not be able to do that anymore. Or let me put it this way, they have to stay away from certain topics.
Exactly.
And yes. So you need to know, because if you don't know, you're going to bring your church into trouble.
Correct.
So they have to come out, and they need to get up on the pulpit and say, well, I have taken X amount of dollars, and as of this date, you can no longer preach about X, Y, and Z. They have to bring it plain to the people. And give the people the option to stay or to go. Straight.
Yes.
This is the time where we need to separate the sheep from the goats.
Well, to be honest with you, Carolyn.
Simple.
To be honest with you, Carolyn, Jesus has been good enough to make that separation plain and simple. I'm being very serious. He's given us enough let me get the word. He's given us enough benchmarks, enough criteria for us to know. And mind you, Apostle, he said it would happen, in these days that we are in. While we were talking about it just this morning on another matter, but the quotation or the particular reference comes to my mind. Will he find faith in the earth?
All right, Rev.
Will he find people who are so tenacious? Because that's the original expression. Their faith is of such a tenacity that they will die for it. They will not let it go.
There you go.
And his question was, when, and it's amazing where the question just jumps out at you, because it is almost totally unrelated to what it is set against. Because he was talking about that judge, the woman who was looking for justice and so on. And then the judge, he went to the judge, and the judge said before this woman, and it said he feared neither God nor man. I had to say, boy, he's some kind of judge. I mean, he ain't a joke. He ain't no joke at all, man. Man don't fear God, man don't fear man. And but to be honest with you, Apostle, go ahead and laugh at this. He fear woman, because he said, boy, let me give this woman what she come to me for before she wear me out.
No doubt.
That here.
No doubt.
Let me tell you, because just now Carolyn says she's a woman, she don't see things like the way we do. And that's a fact.
I heard that.
Yeah, I heard that. And out of the blue, he talks about if an unjust judge is going to award the woman justice, what do you think about my father?
Yes.
So he was talking about a tenacity of intensity of faith and refusing to give up, a persistence. And out of the blue, he just says, will I find faith in the earth? And folk, look, we're not here preaching Christian. Don't get us wrong. It is simply because we apply what we believe to the life that we live. So we pull from the scripture what gives us the capacity to assess a situation. That is why we are speaking as we are speaking, because God has given us the capacity to see. And I almost tempted to use a phrase that my children remember. There was a cartoon on television with this fella, can't remember his name, but he used to talk about sight beyond sight, which is what we have. We have sight beyond sight. There are people who only see in the natural, but some of us see beyond what you see. And for many of us, it is referred to as discernment. There are also things that we call words of knowledge, where things are revealed to us that we shouldn't know or couldn't know, that no man has said. So we are speaking to these matters. We are speaking to these matters.
Yes, sir.
As we see it in our country. Because if this administration cares about its people, their number one focus should be getting gangs and criminal activity off the streets, not getting money for education, health, and water. Because we could have all of that and not be safe.
Correct.
Reverend Ferdy, I want to say here, it is known that when a group of persons want to take control, total control, it is important that you get the important persons on board with you. That is why you saw in the time of COVID, they got all of the influencers, the actors, the famous people, and the church to influence persons, because usually people expect that the church, if there's anything not settling with something, the church is the one to highlight it. So they watch the church very carefully. And if the church buys into any agenda, then you have everyone buying into it, because people look up to the church. And so if I am a government and I want full control, I'm going to make sure I get all of the influential people, inclusive of the church. I will say here, and that has created problems way back in history up to this day. The church has to keep its head down because of the part it played in slavery. And the church is always reminded that you joined in slavery.
Yes. Yep.
Up to this day, they highlight the church, and the church was a part of it all the time. So we have got to be careful, and we have got to understand what is happening as a church. But I will say the true church of God does not bow. Does not bow to the world. It does not bow to the world.
Come on.
Not the true church.
Come on. Strong
there
point.
are others who are pretending to be the church, and they will be exposed. They will be exposed. And this is a good time. This is a good time to see who is true and who is not true. They will be exposed.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, I am laughing. I am laughing for a reason, you know, Carolyn.
I think I know why.
Listen, let me clarify something for the people here, and Apostle, I know you would know this. That word church in the four Gospels, I think, only occurs twice. In the four Gospels. Only twice. On one occasion, Jesus is talking about when you have a problem with somebody and you can't get it resolved, and you try your best, you carry a friend and all that kind of stuff. He says, finally, take it to the church. The second place he uses it is when he's speaking to Peter. And Peter makes a revelation, you know, that he's the Christ, the Son of the living God, and so on. And he says, flesh and blood has not revealed that to you. And he goes on to say, I will build my church. And the gates of hell will not prevail against it. I would have to look back into my notes to see the number of times that Jesus talked about the kingdom of God. Not the church, the kingdom of God. You know, it's interesting. The first place in the book of Acts that the word church occurs is when the people in Antioch called us the church. Jesus talked about the kingdom, and wherever there's a kingdom, there's a king. And remember, he's the one, and I, you know, Apostle, I get myself in trouble when I'm ministering because I am like you. I have actually made it a point to go back to the four Gospels because I live in the new covenant. I thank God for the old one, but the old one is a reference point for me.
Right, sir.
Because I live in the new one, because Jesus said the law and the prophets, he has fulfilled them.
Yes, sir. Correct.
That's what he said. I didn't say that. He said that. So that today, I listen to what he has to say more than anybody else from Genesis to Revelation.
Pretty much.
Okay? That word, we know as a Greek word ecclesia, we all know this, which many of us talk about being the called out ones. But that is not entirely correct, or should I say entirely complete. It's an expression used in the Greek, and it's a political expression. It's not a religious one.
Correct.
This is the intriguing thing about it, Caroline. The word church is not a religious expression.
Mm-hmm.
It is a political expression because it speaks not just about people who were called out, but it speaks about people who were given the governmental responsibility of a city or a province or wherever you want to call it.
Right.
They were endued with authority to govern. That's why I speak about the kingdom. I talk a lot about the kingdom. I don't talk a lot about the church because you can hear what's going on where reference to the church is concerned. You can hear it. You can hear from all that we are saying and what people are posting in the chat.
Yes.
And I want to help us to focus because a lot of people's experience with the church often flavors or colors their experience with God. And the two are not synonymous.
Right.
They are not synonymous. No, the church and the kingdom, Alice, are not the same.
Correct.
They're two totally different things. That's the problem we have in our country, is that our leaders have not taught our people the truth.
Correct.
The church and the kingdom are poles apart. Poles apart. When Jesus makes his statement, Jesus says something that has always troubled me from even a little fella, and I got an understanding. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one cometh to the Father but by me. And I keep saying to people, we keep bringing people to Jesus, but we don't get them to the Father. So they never experience the kingdom because the kingdom is where the Father is. The Father is the king.
Yes.
There's a totally different picture when you get there. That's why he taught us in our Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
Right.
And I don't mean to be preaching tonight, but this is not a religious program, but we are simply tying it in.
Yes, sir.
To the wickedness that we are seeing enveloping our country with a smile and a little handshake and a little wave of a finger.
Right.
And people seem to think that that is leadership. Leadership is when you empower people so you are no longer required. That's one of the truest things that John Maxwell said.
Right.
A leader is a person who works themselves out of a job. Where people, a government is supposed to facilitate its people, to be the facilitator of its people being enfranchised so that they can do better with their lives and make a living, a prosperity. And we were talking about it earlier, Carol, and I just went back to the notes here to do with the six aspects of the global, of the Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 agenda. I just went back to it to look back at it, to look at the aspects of something like shared prosperity and wealth creation. What shared prosperity and wealth creation are you talking about when all of Bridgetown, from all the way back up by the garrison, by the barracks, all the way down Bay Street, all the way down into Bridgetown, all the way down to President Kennedy Drive, down by the fish market, opposite the bus terminal, is being sold off. The assets of our country being divested of the people's right, and the people have not given permission for it to happen.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
You are selling our assets, giving away our assets. They're not yours.
Yeah.
And when you are dead and gone, and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are struggling to make a living, you have divested of the most valuable assets and the best properties in the country.
Yeah.
And you talk about shared prosperity and wealth creation. What rubbish am I hearing? This nation, listen, this mission aims to expand economic opportunity. Where's the expansion for the economic opportunity of our young men? to have an alternative to standing on the block and running drugs. Where is the alternative? Reduce poverty by 50%. Are you serious? It emphasizes financial inclusion. Do they mean these little handouts that they're giving to the national insurance scheme? This, what you call it? This can't you remember what the thing is called? The $100 they're giving out for a year. And then they are going to slap Bajans in their faces, talking about money, millions of dollars they're giving, grants, they're giving to people who have twins and triplets. Do you want to look at the record of how many people in this country have twins and triplets compared to the number of babies that are born in this country every year?
What a mess. What a mess.
Less than 50 people, you know.
What a mess.
And you come into the people, stronger support for workers and families. Today I had a discussion with someone, and I said to them, Tony Moore should resign as leader of the Barbados Workers Union. And I made no apologies for it, because somebody was talking to me just yesterday and telling me that they are leaving the Barbados Workers Union because they don't represent the workers.
Wow.
I said, but how can they represent the workers? Because they are in Parliament. And they can't go against the government, because to go against the government means you might have to cross the floor, and you can't cross the floor, because if you cross the floor, now you got to go back to by election and come again.
It's just crazy. You know.
So what we're talking about here, loyal opposition, is not religious jargon in a vacuum up in the sky somewhere. We're talking about fundamental principles that we have been enshrined in our former constitution on a biblical basis. Laws come from that Bible. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill.
You know, Rev, let me just say something here quickly to back up and substantiate what you're saying. A lot of individuals misunderstand these things. You talk about the word ecclesia, which is the Greek word for church. The word ek meaning out, and then klasso meaning call. So talk about body of those who are called out. The actual term says a body of officials who make policy on behalf of the city.
Correct.
Okay. So you're correct in saying that it is a political term, and a lot of folks don't understand that. But then we talk about the kingdom, and our people must understand when Jesus is speaking about the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven, must understand that they're two different things. The kingdom of God deals with the element of where he is. He's God who dwells in unapproachable light. Understand that he's a God of light. He's a God of love. Okay. And there's no darkness in him whatsoever. Every good and every perfect gift cometh down from the Father of lights, in whom there's no variableness or child of turning. But then there's the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is how we operate. And then that's where the parables came from. You will find that it's not the kingdom of God. It's the kingdom of heaven is likened unto. So there are elements where you see the parables. So the parables comes out of what the kingdom is like. So the kingdom of God, of heaven, is the operation of that dimension. It's the dimension of heaven. So one is destiny, one is destination, the other one is operation. And where the church comes in is where you've stated, thy kingdom come, so your will can be done. The church carries out the will of the kingdom. So the church is not the kingdom. The church is a vessel, vehicle used by the kingdom of God to bring the will of God in the earth realm. So when the church is compromised, then the will of God can't be done, and the kingdom is stagnated.
Correct. And for I want us to understand, the reason we are engaged in this aspect of the discussion is because of what has been offered by the government to a group of individuals that we in the country look up to to be the vanguards of morality. And morality is not a sexuality issue. Morality is the capacity to identify what is right and what is wrong. It is the fundamental aspect of truth. So that is why we are engaging from this perspective, where now we have a government who feels that it has silenced to some degree the voice of morality in the country. Because as you have rightly said, Carolyn, when I'm almost tempted to say the borrower is servant to the lender, but persons who receive gifts find themselves in a sense of obligation to the giver. And so you compromise your position to stand up for what is righteousness, justice, and truth. So when we talk about these things, because the government speaks about these 6 sustainable perspectives, look at the heading, government turns to the faith group with a $5 million youth action fund. And the only reason I could even think of that is because they want to buy the votes. And I'm not talking about electoral votes. I'm talking about favor of the church, because the church, in essence, should not be receiving money from outside of its ranks.
Yes.
It has enough money inside of it. Look, we understand that in everything they got charlatans. Don't get me wrong. They got charlatan lawyers, they got charlatan doctors, they got charlatan surveyors. They got wicked people in every walk of life. We get it. We know. Not everybody who says, Lord, Lord, not every sheep is a sheep. They got some wolves in sheep clothes. We get it. We got it. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, the wealth that is inside of the church is substantial enough that we could carry out all of these perspectives without any input from the government financially. What the government could do is set the parameter, set the frame to facilitate the church, maybe granting duty-free concession for basketball, volleyballs, netting, all these things that the churches can bring in order to help the young people in the community. I remember being at People's Cathedral when we used to have the young men playing volleyball in the front yard. And every Friday night, those same young men would make it into the church after, sat in the back, and I watched them progressively come from the back to the front of the altar. And some of them are worshipers today. Some of them are involved in the choir. Some of them are preachers in the kingdom today. So if the government wanted to do something and wanted to involve the church in trying to help the young people, what they should do is sit down and listen to what the church is trying to do and see what they can do to facilitate that.
Right.
Maybe even waive income taxes and those kind of taxes that you have to. I'm just throwing out some ideas. I'm just throwing out some things. But the church doesn't need the government's money.
No.
We don't need it.
Come on, Rev.
What's his name again? Was he Minister of Labor? What was his name again?
Colin Jordan.
Colin Jordan. And he, of all people, should know that. He's a Seventh-day Adventist elder.
Okay. Hold it there, Rev.
I can stick a pin.
So,
I know you're going
so
to
why would the government select him when he should know better? Why would the government select him to be the face and the leader of this money moving to the church when he should know better? Listen, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has done major crusades that went on for 6 weeks with buses leaving all over the island. Massive tent outreaches here in Barbados. And you want to tell me that he's going to be the one selected by the government to sit at the head of the table to present this nonsense to churches? I'm absolutely surprised that he would be the one selected to do it. As I said, this money should be coming from the Prime Minister's office or through the Prime Minister's office, Ministry of Finance, should be coming through the Ministry of Home Affairs, okay, that deals with ecclesiastical seriously, because as far as being a marriage officer is concerned, as far as performing weddings are concerned, you know, all of this comes through the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Home Affairs.
So you want to tell me that the Minister of Labor, okay, public sector and third sector and all
what
that.
What he doing there?
You know, what is he doing?
Where's
What
the
is he
Minister
doing
of
at the helm?
Finance?
What's he doing there?
Minister of
What is he
Finance
doing there?
proposals?
You know, what is he doing there? I mean, this is where the Bible talks about the counsel of Ahithophel that needs to be overturned and will be overturned.
But you see, Apostle, let me say this to you. And I, you know, this country has benefited dramatically from the contribution of the church. Schools were originally under the oversight of the church. The church started a lot of schools in this country.
Yes, sir.
A lot of them. And you know, government has taken over as time has gone by. The Seventh-day Adventists themselves have a tremendous school in Britain's Hill. People's Cathedral, tremendous school. St. Ursula's Convent, St. Gabriel's School. These are schools we all know, don't we, folk? St. Lucy Primary School. You can go all over the country and you can find education that was even places like Harrison College and Queen's College. I know they have a history, we get it, but all that gone now. You know, we don't live in the past. So why couldn't you come forward and say, look, we will help you with the funding? Because, for example, I'm just using an example. People's Cathedral wants to build a secondary school. Does the government have access to a grant funding that could help facilitate the construction of that school so that the people of the country could benefit from? I am not highlighting or favoring anybody's church. I'm just using it as an example.
Right.
That's all I'm doing. I was approached by
Understood.
a certain minister concerning preparing the aspect of a feeding program, a soup kitchen. If government wants to get the church's assistance in meeting the needs of the people, stop these foolish gimmicks and photo ops. And Colin Jordan should be embarrassed to allow himself to be used in this manner.
Yes, sir.
But he is a compromised aspect of his own denomination, where he doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to tell the government what they should and should not do. And if he's a true Seventh-day Adventist, he goes even more by the law than I do.
Okay.
I'm not
Good
pulling,
point,
I'm pulling the punches tonight. I'm sorry. I'm pulling any punches. This is what you expect from a reverend. You got me on the thing as a host. Take what you get. Right?
Come on.
I would never allow myself to be used like him. That's why they don't approach me for nothing. And you all know I have spoken about my background, Apostle, on this platform. From my mother back to my sister, my brother ran in St. John against Errol Barry. He was a senator in the House of Assembly. My sister was vice consul of Barbados, Toronto. I have a long legacy from a family perspective with the Barbadians Labour Party. But from the time Owen Arthur was finished, I was done.
Well,
I was finished because I saw where we were going with who, and he warned us about it. He told us about it. And all his sweet talk and his smiles and all that kind of thing, I learned a long time ago that what you see out in public is not what you see when you're home. If you want to find out about a person, ask the family.
Well,
I am one thing when you see me out, one thing when you see me here on the show, but you want to find out about me, so then I have a conversation with my wife, man. Apostle, you know what I'm talking about, boy. Our wives,
Yes, sir.
Apostle, you know, our wives are the most dangerous people on the planet when it comes
Yes.
to us, boy. They
Yep.
know backward, forward, everything, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about, man. You know
Of course.
what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You know, so all this fancy talk, sitting in chairs, standing in front of the UN and giving fancy speeches, that don't mean diddly squat to me.
No.
What means something to me is when I go down the road from where I live and see a man sitting on the side of the street outside the supermarket begging for money because he is physically handicapped. And we have people calling us to ask us if we can help them. They're waiting for months for the, what you call it, the ministry, social services or whatever it is to help them. But we can find $5 million a year.
A year.
$60 million unaccounted for. I can't remember how many $1 million to do with a cricket stadium that we can't see where the money gone up to now. Money spent at Oysins to paint everything red that nobody can tell us what it was. A Carifesta festival that was 900% over cost.
900%.
900 or more percent.
Okay. Well, listen, there's one more amount that needs to be added to that over the years. The approximately 45 million that went missing from the 50 that was here for EduTech.
But Apostle, if we are honest, if the Auditor General could really give us and reveal to us the figures over the past 8 years, 7-8 years, it's more. It would be mind-boggling.
Yeah.
How much money has been wasted? How much money has been diverted? And I'm not making any apologies. When you and I remember, I got fined. I remember when this government won government in 2018. Shortly afterwards, a couple of $100 million loan was obtained for infrastructural development and repairs. I am still driving on roads in this country with no street lights. Apostle Carolyn, this is 2026. You can come through Lower State that hardly got a street light on one of the most traveled roads in the country today. And I'm sure you can tell me yours in St. Peter, Carolyn. You can tell me yours in St. Lucie. And I'm sure the people here on the chat can tell me in their district.
Carolyn got to know about St. Peter.
Oh, yes. I traveled right through all of them.
Okay. I'm telling you, you got to know about St. Peter.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
And people think, you see, when I tell people, let me tell you two you also. I'm going to tell you loyal opposition something. Look, you all know what get down on the bad side of me here. You really don't. I have a very bad side, and you're seeing a little bit of it.
Yes, sir.
I do not credit government with anything they do because that's your job.
Reverend, I want to say something here.
Yes, ma'am.
You said the bad side of you.
The bad inverted commas, that's the bad good.
Right.
You know how the young people is talk now?
let me just say, Jesus was lion and he also was lamb. Agreed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
He was the Lamb of God, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So there are times, in fact, people think that the only side a Christian should show is the lamb. But no.
Right.
Well, this is the lion tonight.
Yes.
This is the lion tonight, and
yes,
you know, don't get upset with me, folks. Don't get upset with me. because my master went into the temple, sat down, deliberately, premeditatedly plotted a whip, targeted who he wanted to target, and start letting go of real licks.
Sheer lashes when he had to.
He sheer bare licks inside. He run everybody out. And I'll tell you all something. I don't know if he was black, white, polka dot, pink, or green. All I know is that his stature was such that not a man in that temple, in spite of the fact they had temple guards armed, not a man didn't approach him to try and stop him. That suggests to me that his stature must have been such that nobody dared threaten, lift a finger where he was concerned. And I'm not here to promote Christianity. I am simply telling you that when we look at our country, when we look at the compromises that our country is going through, it's time for the lion to roar.
Yes, sir.
We have to stop being lambs in this country. Somebody said the lambs were sent to Guyana, so oh, dear.
Rev, it's 7 minutes past 10.
You're on the road tonight, Rev.
You know what to say, Caroline? Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, you're on the road, Rev. You're on the road tonight.
Let me tell you all something. I issued a warning. I issued a warning publicly, and I was starting to say something just now about government and their role and responsibility. I don't credit government for nothing they do when it comes to road, electricity, lights, education, nothing. That's what you are paid to do. You are paid a salary. You go into parliament. You obtain a position in cabinet. We pay you to do your job. If you do something above and beyond, we will honor you for that. But you are there to do a job. Do your job as the servant of the people of this country. We are your bosses. You are not ours. You're not even our leaders. You are our servants. When you take your oath at Government House or President House or whatever they call it now, you take an oath to serve the people of Barbados, not to boss them. So before you give away our land at Gemmas Lane to the Afro-Exim Bank, you should find out if the people are satisfied of divesting of $220 million of property that could have gone for an extension for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in close proximity. I know what you're going to tell me, the climate change and the climate crisis, and we want to avoid a tsunami taking out the hospital. Well, we all know that that is a fundamental package of lies now, because everything is coming out now. Everything coming out. Foolishness about carbon dioxide, trying to bring carbon dioxide to zero. Yeah. What idiot could think of that? Who's the stupid individual to follow that kind of stupid fallacy, who don't realize that the forests need carbon dioxide to breathe, and we need the forest to get oxygen to breathe? How stupid can we get?
Pretty much, Rev.
How stupid can we get? We have more forests growing today. You see, the lying media fools us into thinking that things are getting worse. But ask yourself this question. If the oceans were to rise where Al Gore told us it was to rise, we would all be underwater by now. And if it was to rise, how come President Barack Obama bought a multi-billion-dollar property on the beach? These are questions you have to ask yourself. I know, to tell me that my time gone. We gotta wrap up.
Yep.
Rev,
you're right on point, Rev. You're right on point.
Apostle,
I'm back here, Rev.
This is your fault, you know. You come on here, you stir up.
Man, I'm happy to be. I'm happy to be the scapegoat in this department.
Oh my goodness! Listen, folks, thank you so much, Caroline. I hope Marcy prepares another session where we can come back, and Apostle, maybe you can join us back on another Friday.
Yes, sir.
I think this is a wonderful team. I really enjoy being with you guys. You know, that because we need to explore more of these things. That 2030 agenda needs to be gone into a lot more. The aspect of the data center. And Apostle, I know that there's even more you have to share concerning the fallout. And that has a lot of fallout. Not only the 5 million, you are You are a political individual. I'm sure there's more that you have to say apart from just the $5 million a year for the church.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot more that we have to talk about. We have to ask about. And so I hope that we can come together again and share on the platform with you guys. And I want to thank you, Caroline. You've been here for the entire show. Thank you so very much for your patience and your tenacity and your knowledge. I didn't realize that you did so much research. I thought I was the only person researching 2030. But I'm so happy to hear that you are doing it as well. I'm absolutely thrilled, and I'm sure, Apostle. But thank you both for being here tonight. And of course, the loyal opposition. What would we do without the loyal opposition? You all are who make this show absolutely important and make it so memorable. They educate, motivate, mobilize, and agitate. And we want to thank every single one of you for staying with us right through the entire night and being a part of this segment. God bless you all. Apostle, thank you again.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Being able to weave, and that's why I appreciate it, being able to weave the realities of faith into the realities of governmental life and economic life in our country, so that people understand that in a true sense, the two are virtually inseparable.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
And Caroline, again, thank you. I have to find out. You strike me as being a psychologist, you know. I suspect that you are a psychologist, you know. I suspect
I'm a believer first and foremost. Anything else after?
Well, I can put that after, because I'm telling you, the way you unpack some of this stuff is just remarkable. And I really want to thank you. I know nobody told me. I kept thinking it in my mind. Marcia never told me, but I kept saying to myself, when I listen to you, you sound like somebody who is a psychologist, who takes things apart and, you know, and builds and puts things back together. And I really appreciate even what I have heard you share on the nights that I have not been on the show you've been on with Marcia and others. I really have learned a lot from you, and I thank you so much for your presence. And folk, we thank you too for being with us. Wishing you a great, great night. I'm going to turn over to the virtual DJ, Mr. Dave Weeks. And thank you, Dave, for being so patient with me again. And I know Marcia is there in the background. I hope we have done her honor in what we have done tonight and presented a show that she would be happy with and certainly would be of value to the people. So good night, and God bless all of you.
Blessings. Good night. Bye-bye.
Blood in the street where children used to play. Mothers on their knees don't know what to say. Brothers turn against brothers, hearts gone cold. We've traded love for silver, we've sold our soul. But if we humble, if we pray, turn from the darkness, seek your face. Heal our land, oh Lord, heal our land. Hear the cry rising from the sand. We repent, we turn again. Wash we hearts, make we whole. Amen. Heal our land, oh Lord, here we plead. From the hills to the deep blue sea, mercy fall like island rain. Heal our land, Lord, once again. Heal our land, Lord, once again. Sirens in the night, another life gone. Fathers missing, the guidance done gone. We forget the roots that make us strong. Now every righteous turning wrong. But if we humble, if we pray, turn from the darkness, seek your face. Heal our land, oh Lord, heal our land. Hear the cry rising sand. We repent, we turn again. Wash we hearts, make we holy. Heal our land, oh Lord, here we plead. From the hills to the deep blue sea, mercy fall like island rain. Heal our land, Lord, once again. If we call on you, you will answer. If we turn from sin, you will hear us. If we seek your face, you will heal us. We humble ourselves, we cry out today. Take the violence, take it away. Plant your love where fear has grown. Make this island yours alone. If my people, called by my name, will humble themselves and pray. Heal our land, oh Lord, heal our land. Yeah, hear the cry rising from the sand. We repent, we turn again. Wash we hearts, make we whole. Heal our land, oh Lord, heal